left off.
You sure? You're okay with that?
Yep, I'm
That makes
absolutely
me more
fine
work.
with that.
All right,
Okay.
let's see who's after Big Bully Busey.
All right, everybody, we're back. We're recording again. My internet provider totally crapped out on us, so I've switched to my phone. Excuse the audio. And to answer Aaron's question, like I was going to, when I talked to Bob about the PWI 500, he actually asked me when I said we were doing 91. He said, was number 500? He said, the only guy I ever really shit on, pretty much were his words, when I did a 500 was Morgus the Maniac. That guy was useless. And I said, no, Morgus wasn't in this one. 500 was Zeus. And we reminisced about Zeus. But it was cool to talk to Bob and John. And I will let everybody know when that podcast is going to air. It was a good experience. Talked to two wrestling historians. And actually, like I said, Bob Smith was the guy that wrote this magazine that we're reviewing. So,
and I just recently, when you talked about, just real quick, since he had you on his show, I'll say I've started getting back into Mr. John Arezzi's podcast after he left where he left, and honestly, I think it's better. I think it's a better setup for it.
I agree. Absolutely. It comes off more natural.
Yeah, and it's an actual show. It's not just like, oh, this happened. Like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So anyway, here we go. Number 83 in the PWI 500. The first one is Jeff Gaylord. 6'3", 255, 6 years pro. The Missouri Tiger boasts a fine physique, huge arms and upper body, and his backbreaker and bear hugs captured the USWA tag title with Jeff Jarrett in 1990.
Oh, I'm sure his bear hugs were really good, Mr. Gaylord over there. I always giggle when I hear his name. I don't know why. But I become a
Yeah, you know what? When he said it, like my head, the first thing it went to was Gaylord Fokker.
Right. No, but Jeff was a good talent. I've seen a couple of good matches of his. He definitely worked well with Jeff Jarrett. So,
but apparently a wild man.
And seriously, in real life, yes. I was just gonna say, I know you guys we're plugging John Arezzi too, but there's Crime in Sports. There's a Jeff Gaylord episode of that. He had a fucking crazy life, but you can't discount the guy's look.
Right.
No, I mean he was ripped like Luger almost, and kind of resembled Salvatore Sincere.
Like his legs were like the size of me. It's fucking nuts. And I think that the reason he never got any further than what he did was because of his extracurricular activities, I should say.
I'm sure his demons kept him out. Yeah.
Last note on Jeff: he was also one of the knights at the Survivor Series 1993.
Yes, he was. Jerry Lawler's knights, but were Shawn Michaels' knights by the ending of the show because Jerry couldn't make it.
Jerry Lawler was spending some nights and some days in court. So
yes. His brother made it bigger, but I mean,
who's his brother? I didn't know he had a brother in the race.
His brother War.
His brother War.
War. Ah. Okay.
War Gaylord?
No.
Warlord.
Number 82, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. 6'3", 280, 14 years pro, mega popular WWF star. Brought college football sensibility to wrestling. Favorite finishing maneuver is the three-point stance into a clothesline.
Before we get into anything, I would like to say that yesterday or in the last couple of days, Hacksaw announced that he is completely and utterly cancer-free.
Yep, got to ring the bell.
And I am congratulations. Thank God for his healing. And I hope that he continues to be a healthy and happy man into his much, much older age.
Has anybody in the history of the world put the punches to cancer more than Jim Duggan has?
Right.
Yeah.
And as of 91, great talent.
He was a very nice man when I met him. He signed at a convention. He took time for people. One of the guys in front of me, he took way too much time for. But he's the guy that I know a lot of times like Nate, I talk about it all the time, like where people are like, oh, when they went to the WWF, they ruined him. You know what I mean? Like when people say that about like the Bushwhackers or the whatever. he is a guy that I will say I enjoy way more away from the WWF than I did when he was in the WWF.
I
Yeah,
enjoyed him at all times.
Yeah, I liked him in WWF. I enjoyed him more in WCW though because he was getting a bigger push.
Well, no, I mean like before he went there, like him and like
Mid-South.
Mid-South and all that.
Right.
They just kind of took Duggan and just kind of one-dimensional him. That's not a word. They took his character and they just made it like one dimension. You know what I mean? But when he was in like
yeah.
and shit, it was he's the guy that I can say, yeah, I enjoyed his work way more out of the WWF than in it.
As a child, I always loved watching when Duggan would come on the TV. It was like his gimmick to me is like that ruffian, mentally challenged cousin that you may have.
Oh God.
And it's over with me. And one of my favorite meet and greets that the asylum done, and he sent out the extra pro wrestling all star card with his autograph on it, but on the 8x10 that I got, he said "to Marky." And I'm like, what the?
But two things they'll say, like when I did his meet and greet, he signed my card. He and then he did like a paint marker with it or whatever, and then he went to hand it back to me. When he went to hand it back to me, he dropped it, and it flipped, and it landed like signature side down onto the table. And he was like, "Oh man, I hope they didn't mess it up, brother," or whatever. I picked it up and it was fine. But as I was picking it up, he's like, "If it messed it up a little bit, man, I'll just sign one of these ones I got over here. You can have both of them." And I was just like, "No, it's cool, man."
Well,
He didn't have to be like that. You know what I mean? He could have just been like, "You dumbass, you dropped your card, get the fuck out." But then the other thing I'll say is he has one of my favorite moments in broadcast wrestling history, and it wasn't even him. Like he's in the match. I think he's fighting like the Gambler or something on a worldwide. And he's coming out, and the match starts, and as it starts, and this is like in like 99 or 2000 or whatever, Tony Schiavone says, "Hacksaw Jim Duggan in there. He's a thinking man's wrestler." And then during the entire match, which is like 4.5 minutes, Bobby Heenan is just going, just laughing that Tony Schiavone said he's a thinking man's wrestler.
Last I will say about Jim is that he is a sweetheart. We had him on an asylum meet and greet, and he didn't want it to end. You know, we had it plugged for like, I think David had and Nick and them had it plugged for like 4 hours. And at the 4 hour mark, he's like, "Look, if there's anybody else that still wants to meet me, and I'll chill. I'm not in any rush." Like Aaron said, he talked to everybody. He told stories. He gave us, advice and things like that. He was absolutely great. And in '91, he was really just coming into his own in WWF. Like I said, I think I liked him more in WCW though because he had a few good matches with guys like Steve Austin and Big Bubba in those Take Fist matches. So I'm a Hacksaw fan.
And observing him at that hall observing him at that convention, I did notice one thing too. His wife runs the Hacksaw Jim Duggan business, man.
Yes, she does.
Like she's not a dick about it, but like if people were hanging her up a little too far, a little too long, or whatever, she's like, you gotta get out of here. Get. And it looks like she handles her business. And Jim Duggan, like I said, he's the guy that I can say in the WWF, I wasn't his biggest fan outside of it. Love him, but he is a talent and he is a legend. And yeah,
Number 81, Gary Young, 6 foot 240, 14 years pro. Veteran star has shocked the sport by becoming a fan favorite, formerly a member of Skandar Akbar's stable, now a top contender for the global North American title. I remember watching Gary Young and Global and thinking the same thing I think about him that I always, Aaron knows this, that I always thought about Jim Garvin. He looks sleazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the porn stash, and then he looks like he's reacting to Shivani or whoever Aaron said that about Hacksaw. Like in the promo picture, he's like,
Yeah. I read about him on his Wikipedia. I think he had a good run at Chili's. I know that. Like after his career, they said he
now
was manager at Chili's.
if you said like a pizza joint, I would definitely believe that because he's definitely got the '80s pizza boy porno stash.
Yeah. They
Oh
said he was
God.
a Chili's guy, but I just he was a Texas guy, and that's kind of like his bread and right. Nate, he was more he was Texas.
Yes. Yeah, he was a Texas guy. All right. Number 80, Samu, 6'4", 260, 10 years pro, son of Safa, Afa of the original Wild Samoans, is a fine athlete, blessed with size, strength, and a surprisingly effective aerial skills, a member of the SST.
And behind the scenes, on the road, whatever, everything I've read, he was a badass motherfucker. Like he was like a Yoko where he was into some shit and you didn't fuck with that guy.
He had 7 different ring names. That's something new I just learned.
And he and Fatu, man, they were a badass tag team.
For sure.
Yeah, they I didn't know them that well as the Samoan SWAT team, but as the head shrinkers, I enjoyed them as a tag team. And then when obviously when they were looking to push Fatu, we know how that went, and he kind of floundered and didn't really get nowhere. But yeah, I enjoyed Samu a lot in the early '90s and the mid '90s.
And
you can push Fatu all you want to. I'm not going to attempt that.
Right, hurt your back trying to push Fatu.
He's another guy of everything I read. It was the reason he kind of was in and out of places was because of his like I said, extracurricular activities and demons. But as a worker, fucking great, in my opinion.
Number 79, one of the all-time greats, Roddy Piper.
Yes,
6'2",
kind of high on this list.
18 years pro. Retirement rumors account for this ranking. There you go. There's one of the best, if healthy, but has been plagued by injuries, among the most flamboyant personalities in history.
Yeah, he would have been commentating at this point, wasn't he?
What's that?
He was more commentating at this point, wasn't he?
He was. He was kind of through 1990 he was commentating. Then early 91 he started up the thing with Virgil, being Virgil's like inspiration or whatever in his feud with DiBiase. Because he doesn't get back into the ring until they need him to in 92 when Brett gets sick.
And they bring in Flair.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. He feuds with Flair before that.
And that was a brilliant fucking move. Like, I don't care what anybody says, and I feel that was Pat Patterson. That Flair's coming into this company. He's been in the NWA for fucking 20 years, and he's coming in, and he's knows, and it's like, all right, I guarantee that was Patterson going, Vince, we got to put him with Piper so he's fucking comfortable.
Right, he's got history with Piper. Why not?
Like, it's his best friend.
That and somebody who's not a viewer of the WWF that's scrolling through the channels and sees Roddy Piper and Ric Flair is going to go, oh, I might stop here and watch this.
Right.
Yeah. But that I wholeheartedly believe that was a whole just let's make him comfortable when he gets here. Like the first guy you're going to work with is Piper. All right, I can do that, you know. And
well, I mean,
go ahead,
also like in that year that we're in, on the year that was, I really enjoyed that when they were both in WCW also.
Yeah, that was them at the point where they were established, they had their money, and they could just have fun. And Piper wasn't my favorite commentator in the WWF, but He's one of my top 5 favorite WWF performers of all time.
He had his moments on commentary, though. You know what I mean? He wasn't always a loud voice, but when he wanted to be, he could. I heard him talk about during a shoot interview that when they put Randy Savage and him on commentary, one night Savage like, yeah, Roddy, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna, make my presence felt and talk and do. So he's okay, go ahead, Randy. I'll sit back, don't worry. And then he decided to just go word for word, whatever Savage was saying. He was talking over him. And by the end of the night, they get backstage and Savage is like, damn, Roddy, you really took the wind out of my sails. And Piper was like, brother, it's my show. I was here first.
Yeah, Savage, Piper, and Vince was a little too much.
Right. Three egos.
I just remember Roddy's commentary. First off, he always called, because we're talking about 90, 91, so we'll talk about the commentary. But first off, he always called Bobby Boobsy. And whenever describing a Royal Rumble, he would always say, there's 30 guys back there, they got hair on their teeth. And I don't know why, but I always thought that was a cool line. They got hair on their teeth. Number 78, Kevin Von Erich.
Yes.
6'2", 235, 13 years pro. Scientific marvel just keeps on going. Recognized by the IWCCW as world-class champion. The older brother of Kerry and Chris. Great claw. Kevin he was the lankiest
Yes.
of the Von Erich brothers. Probably the most agile, though.
I was going to say he was the best worker of them all.
I like Lance better.
Get out of here! You're fired.
My thing is that, like, not to overshadow Kevin, but for Kerry to work with that one leg and you not really be able to tell it at first, that says a lot to just how they were trained anyways.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin worked barefoot and Kerry worked no foot.
Right.
And I'm not knocking any of the other brothers. It's kind of like when we were talking about the Armstrongs. Like, you can't say any of the Armstrongs are bad or find a hole in any of their game. But like Steve, he was the best worker out of all of them. He might have not been the best talker or anything like that. Like in the Von Erichs, David was probably the best talker, but and Kerry looked the best, But
Kerry was they call in independent wrestling rat bait. He was what the women wanted to see.
Right.
But Kevin was hands down the best in ring worker of the Von Erichs.
Aaron.
They all look like horses though. Like I don't know, like the chicks are just looking at the body. They're like, oh, don't show me that face.
Hey, Aaron.
Don't pan up.
Yeah.
I was thinking about something the other day because I got the you can answer this question just because I know you will know what I mean. I got the Mean Mark Callis figure. All right, the Legends figure.
I have that one.
And I was looking at the picture of. I mean, a lot of times you don't think about Mean Mark. You know what I mean? It's not on your brain. But then I was thinking when I looked at it, and then I'm thinking about that. Do you think that Fritz really saw something in Mark? Because if you look at him, he resembles David at that time.
Kinda.
Good call.
And I think he looked at him also as a big motherfucker, and he ain't gonna look out of place with my boys and all that. But yeah, I think that's part of it. I think.
But anyway, that's beside the point. We're talking about Kevin. Like I said, great athlete, good wrestler. Not a great promo, but none of them really were, other than like Aaron said, David. Number 77. Now this guy was a great promo. The Mountie. 6'2", 232, 12 years pro, formerly known as Jacques Rougeau, managed by Jimmy Hart, uses policeman's shock stick to zap opponents in the midst of a violent war with the big boss man. And who will ever forget the Mountie going to jail? Fuck you, people that would shit on it. That's great sports entertainment.
Yes, it
You
is.
just talked about that on the spotlight.
I'm an officer of the law. You can't do this to me.
Yeah, him going to jail was great, and he's a fucking talent. And I know that a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of the boys didn't like him because they that he kind of rubbed people the wrong way, and he's kind of high on himself or whatever. But a lot of them French Canadian guys always have been. But he was really talented. He was a great heel, and he took his natural dislikability and emphasized it on TV and did a great job in any role that he was in.
He's still wrestling, isn't he?
I think he just recently retired.
Was he ever a face in his career? And I don't mean
Yeah,
when the Rougeaus first started.
They were faces. They were faces in WWF.
Yeah, but I mean that didn't last very long. What did it last? Like 6 months, and then they joined Jimmy Hart, and you know, I'm talking about as a solo guy. I mean, he was the Mountie. He was.
I'm sorry. I am a fan of
wise or whatever. He never was, but when he was in Montreal.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he was a face. But other than that go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I'm a huge fan of the Mountie gimmick. And also as it morphed into a Quebecer, I'm a fan of the Quebecers, of course. But we're talking about the Mountie here. I'm a huge fan of the Mountie gimmick. I think that it was a perfect parlay to be a heel in the cartoony WWF. And it was Jacques and Jimmy Hart doing over the top at its very best.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys
the only time where I would say it got stupid, I didn't like it when he got like the gigantic shock stick.
Yeah, that was when they started adding the sound effect and all that.
Yeah,
that was lame.
But it led to Roddy Piper pulling off the, wearing the wetsuit underneath it, so that kind of worked out.
Yeah, that was fun, but the sound effect and all. Do you guys know why his song was "I'm Not the Mountie"? Do you know why it became that?
Because the Royal Mounted Police
were upset with the WWF.
Really?
Presenting the Mountie as being a heel.
When he wrestled in Canada, he wore the Mountie outfit, but he wrestled as Jacques Rougeau. They didn't call him the Mountie in Canada.
So in Canada, he was like, "I'm not the Mountie. I'm handsome, I'm brave, and I'm strong." Like that's why they had to do that.
We want you to present it like the Dudley Do Right we are.
Right.
Number 76, unless you had something on that. I don't think you chimed in, Archie, on the Mountie.
No, everybody said what I was going to say. I agree.
Number 76, the Diamond Stud. 6'8", 290, 7 years pro. Huge Mauler is the latest addition to Diamond Dallas Page's Diamond Exchange. Favorite finisher is his Diamond Death Drop, a reverse power bomb. And we all know who that is, the Diamond Stud.
Hey, yo.
Is Scott Hall.
Wait. I was going to say he never really became anything, but fine. If you want to spoil it, go ahead.
Yeah, he just kind of disappeared from WCW, and then I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Diamond Stud, obviously cool look. Obviously, very cool look. Scott Hall never didn't have a cool look. But
Gator Scott Hall was kind of hilarious.
Well, but no, for that time, it was a cool look.
Yeah, I guess.
Big, beautiful mustache.
Blonde hair.
Yeah,
almost blonde hair.
He's a guy that can almost be like how we were talking about, like WCW not being able to see the forest for the trees. Like, how do you not look at this guy and say we need to put a fucking rocket ship on him?
Right.
I mean, like, he's big. Like, he could have, like, I think if Dusty would have been in charge, like Foley in charge, he would have been like, this is Magnum TA. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we could go with him. And WCW just didn't. They didn't do right with him, in my opinion.
Scott had a really interesting early career with his time in AWA, WCW. You know what I mean? And yeah, the Diamond Stud was the precursor to Razor Remote. All he was missing was the chains and the accent.
That's the other. Oh, sorry, Arch. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
That's what I was going to say. Like, he's the guy that because remember when he left for WCW, they try to say, oh, he's infringing on the gimmick that we built for him here.
Right.
And he's like, I was doing all that shit before I got
right in the late 80s and 90s.
All I did was change. Like, the Diamond Stud character was fucking Razor Ramon, just without the accent. Like, he's like, I was still doing the toothpick. I had the slick hair. Yeah.
Chamber of Horrors match. I remember.
Oh God,
watching that.
Poor Abdullah.
Number 75 is a guy everybody that listens to the show knows that I am a big mark for, especially back when I was a younger man. I really dug him, his look and everything. He may not have been the greatest worker, but goddamn it, I love the Warlord. 6'5", 360, 5 years pro. In a sport filled with powerful men, Warlord's physique still stands out. Formerly teamed with Barbarian as the Powers of Pain, has become a WWF World Title contender. I like the Warlord. I always did. I thought he had a good look for what his style was supposed to be. He wrestled a good style, and I dug him, man. I thought the Warlord was cool as shit back in the day.
No, I agree with you. He was a powerhouse. He had a look. Even when they put the Phantom of the Opera silver, mask on him, but I never thought that he should have left with the Barbarian. I think they should have stayed as the Powers of Pain for longer and maybe had a title run. Because if anybody needed a title, you know what I mean? He deserved at least one run, with something. And his feud with Davey Boy got cut short. It was like whenever they started to give this guy traction, something would come around and pull the rug from underneath him.
I just always remember back in the day, like, I wish they'd give him a run with Hogan. He would have been a great opponent for Hogan around the Horn.
They're equally jacked, and it would have been the first time that you looked and was like, maybe Hulkamania ain't shit.
And on paper and looking at the guys, okay, it shouldn't have worked, but it did. Like, him and Slick just worked.
Yes,
right.
These guys shouldn't be together. That was almost what made it cool. Was like, how did this skinny black pimp wind up with this
gym rat? Yeah,
but Warlord. Slick had the way of doing that, though. He did it with Akeem. He did it with Warlord. You know what I mean?
Like, him and Akeem like to dance together and shit.
But Akeem was originally the one-man game, so it was just a weird, you know what I mean? But Slick had a way of making you believe, yeah, these two guys can hang out together, no big deal.
Like, Akeem didn't work because Akeem's allowed at the cookout. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Remember when we were talking about my very first memory of wrestling was with that Rampage 91 VHS?
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, that's the match that stuck out the most on that whole entire tape to me was when I was a child was Kerry versus Warlord. And
yeah, good feud.
Like Ask Archie, we talked about this, not in this setting, for the podcast. Like, that's what got me into wrestling.
Right.
It's a visual. He just pops on the screen. He looks like a monster. And if you're not thinking about work rate, he looks like a guy that would be in that ring whooping somebody's ass, Yeah.
He's like Sid. If you're going to draw a wrestler, that's what you're going to draw.
Number 74, Al Perez. I'm not a fan. Anyway, 6'1", 238, 9 years pro, Latin heartthrob, handsome but cold-hearted, former world-class champion, has also competed in the WWF and WCW. Brother is the promising Lou Perez. I was never a fan of Al Perez. I just didn't. I don't know.
What's really funny is he looks like Gary Young that we were talking about earlier.
He looks like an in-shape Gary Young.
Unless anybody else has anything else, we'll just move on.
Yeah, he's butt.
Up to you. Go ahead.
73, Hercules.
Yeah.
6'2", 255, 11 years pro, powerful bodybuilder, a member of Power and Glory with Paul Roma, managed by Slick, has fluctuated between being a fan favorite and a rule breaker several times. At this time, Hercules is about to be, he's in Power and Glory, but he's almost about to be in a swan song with the WWF.
Nate, he's my warlord. You know what I mean? Like, he's the guy that, to me, it's just, he was fucking awesome. And I loved every incarnation of Hercules. I thought he was fucking awesome. Every story I hear about the guy, like, he was a stand-up dude and was funny and like was a badass, but didn't have to let you know he was a badass. And just character-wise, I fucking loved him. And
he looked like if he put you in a fucking headlock, he'd squeeze your head off.
oh yeah, and I am a Hercules fan.
His physique was definitely Herculean.
And you want to hear
Hercules.
If you want to hear a great story, here Jim Cornette talking about Hercules driving down the fucking interstate carrying a fucking car door.
Yep.
And then they said, oh, I can't remember who it was, but they said they were in Toronto, and it gets so cold there that the like bus stops and shit have a button and it says push for heat. And he's like, what happens if I push this? Does like a little midget come out and hit me with a chair?
Push for
episode of Jackass.
Idol, 6 foot, 240, 19 years pro. Began career as WWF strongman. Wrestled as a rule breaker for many years, but has also been very popular, constantly feuding with Jerry Lawler, cunning foe.
Said Austin Idol. Cut out a little bit. Yeah, he was a homesteader, and nothing wrong with that. If I went through what Austin Idol went through, I wouldn't want to travel anymore either. So I understand that. But I think if he would have wanted to branch out, he could have been a bigger star than what he is.
And also, you talked about heat. I mean, we joked about heat, talking the Hercules story earlier. But you talk about heat. Anybody that wants to see what wrestling heat looks like, you watch when Austin Idol and Tommy Rich cut Jerry Lawler's hair in the Mid-South Coliseum. That is the epitome of wrestling heat.
That's the Memphis equivalent of the Horseman breaking Dusty's leg.
Yeah, I'm surprised they were able to make it out of the building that night after that. You know,
and that's when heels were heels,
right?
And I'm not gonna go on anything and say that Austin Idol was like a great worker or whatever, but that dude was the guy. He's a guy that when they say talk him into the building, that's what he is.
Right. He didn't have to really be that great of a worker anyways, because he had that charisma.
Just talk your ass off. Don't shut up. And yeah, a mile a minute. He's great.
Not going to have many comments on the next guy. I won't, because I don't even know who the fuck he is. But I mean, I know the name, but I don't know that I've ever seen anything he ever did, and I don't know why he's ranked so high here. 71 is Victor Zangief.
Ooh, is that dude from Street Fighter?
5'11", 230, 3 years pro, former Russian national amateur champion, has competed infrequently in pro rings, and when he does, it's usually in amateur-style bouts in Japan or Germany. I am a student of the game and a historian, but I don't know jack shit about Victor, so can we move on?
Yeah, please. How the hell who did he pay off to get on that list so high?
71.
We're going to call this episode Skipping Victor.
Who'd he pay?
I like it.
Number 70, Jim Neidhart, 6'1", 275, 12 years pro. The Big Anvil is an outstanding tag team competitor. Neidhart and Bret Hart are two-time world tag team champions, strictly a straight-ahead brawler. Gotta love Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Yes.
Greatest goatee in the history of professional wrestling.
And it's
I
funny
don't know.
because
Mine is pretty good.
it's funny because I got like ahead of myself on watching shows and taking notes for my show, and I put this note in there. But I'm going to ask you guys now: Jim Neidhart, okay,
Mm-hmm.
overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
Properly rated.
Properly rated.
I
Yeah.
believe so too. And he wasn't like the greatest. Nate, would you consider him a big man wrestler?
Mm,
I
I don't
mean,
think
well,
big man. I think a heater. He's a heater.
Yeah, kind of like on like when I think about like size or whatever, like maybe like a Duggan.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think in a tag team situation, he was perfect, especially with Brett. And he was the quintessential character, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a character
Definitely.
babyface or a character heel. This guy's fucking ridiculous, and his promos are funny, and you believe that this guy's batshit crazy. Because guess what?
He
was.
is.
He's batshit crazy.
Yeah, if he has cocaine in his fanny pack, I guarantee it.
Yes. My favorite line I've ever heard anybody say about fucking Neidhart was Brett was going in the 92 SummerSlam and couldn't find Davey. And Jim called Brett and he was like, Davey's messed up, man. He's smoking way too much crack. And Brett was like, how do you know? And he's like, because I'm doing it with him.
What the hell?
And then Vince McMahon, when they said they were going to split up the Heart Foundation, Brett was like, but what are you going to do with Jim? And Vince was like, why are you worried about Jim? I'm telling you, you're going to get the biggest singles push of your career so far. He goes, yeah, but Jim, what are you going to do with Jim? And Vince looked at Bret Hart and said, Brett, don't worry. I can't fire Jim. He owes me too much money. All the time.
That works.
Maybe that's why his daughter's still performing for WWE.
Right? Trying to pay some money back.
Yeah, he's like, don't worry about Jim. I can't fire him. He owes me too much money. And then
Some cartel shit going on.
Nate, you're gonna get this because you know how you know this comment. How did Jim Neidhart and Lady Brett have such two good-looking daughters?
A good question.
It's like, that's
They got their breasts from their father.
But no, I really enjoy Jim Neidhart, and I think that nobody would have done near as like.
Well, and
him and Brett were peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean?
I was just about to say to what you were saying earlier, and everybody knows how much I love the Midnights and how much I love the Rockers and the Rock and Roll Express and Demolition. But still, to this day, my favorite tag team combination is Brett and Neidhart. And it's because, like you said, it was the perfect team. It was the technical master. And like I said, the heater, the big guy,
and they
the
worked.
Rhino.
I describe him like a powerhouse.
That and they worked well. They worked so well together and did so well together too because they were fucking best friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Brett was like this fucking crazy guy over here. This is like my. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
Yeah,
that's why it fucking worked. Like I love in the Wrestling with Shadows documentary when Brett's describing his crew. He's like, "There's my brother Owen. He's like the best high flyer wrestler around." And there's my brother-in-law Davey. He's the strongest, freaky strongest wrestler on the roster. And there's
what do you expect?
And then he goes, and there's my brother-in-law Jim. Yeah, he's a character.
Yeah, he's a character.
Fucking love that line.
And if you haven't seen any Neidhart before WWF, also, in Mid-South or any of that. I mean, he was star potential, and he's another guy that in the long run, you know, we got to tell the real story too. A lot of times he got in his own way.
Oh yeah.
As far as being a mega star.
I think he's a great talent.
Anything else on the Anvil, guys?
Well, it's like Nate was saying, talking about like he wasn't, you know, all that. Like he was trying to consider him a big man wrestler, but the frame that he was on, his weight and his height, there were certain moves he's not gonna do like the lucha style or anything like that. But he's not the big goofy giant type neither.
He's more like Duggan, yeah.
But that shit where like he'd do that shoot over the rope thing, you know, like where he'd be on the apron and he'd like projectile himself over it and hit like the shoulder tackles on the fucking people that he was wrestling or whatever. That was fucking impressive. I like Jim Neidhart.
And I'll tell you what, taking that move right there is a lot harder than people understand too.
Jumping up and over. It's fucking impressive.
The next guy on the list is the guy that Aaron asked the question with Neidhart, you know, overrated, underrated, rated just right. I think, and you guys can disagree, but I think this guy's underrated.
I agree.
I really enjoyed this guy, number 69, Iceman King Parsons. 5'10", 245, 12 years pro, St. Louis native, has forged an outstanding career, a two-time holder of the world-class title, defeating Chris Adams and Kerry Von Erich. I am a fan of Iceman King Parsons. He had a charisma. He could move. I'm not going to say he was as charismatic as JYD, but he was up there. And I was a fan of Iceman.
Yeah.
I didn't watch enough of his stuff to say that to really lay my opinion on him. But from what I have seen, yeah, charismatic and definitely deserving of his ranking.
Nate, you might tell me if I'm wrong. You can if you want, but I'd put him as like, and I'm not even saying this because of their complexion or whatever. I'd put him as like if you morphed the Junkyard Dog and Coco Beware together.
Yeah, he was. That's what I'm saying. He was actually. You're right. He was actually much closer to being Coco than JYD. He was JYD's a class unto himself.
Yeah, but he's a bust in the ring. You know what I mean? Like he's not. I shouldn't say bust in the ring. He's not a worker,
right?
But he had the charisma, where Coco had. I'm not saying he was as charismatic as JYD, but he could fucking work his ass off. So if it's like you take those two guys and like morph them together, that's Iceman in my opinion.
Number 68.
It's also the Blackbird. Remember that?
Yeah.
Put him
number 68, the Berserker. 6'6", 316, 7 years pro, huge rule breaker, has gone through several name changes, captured the PWI Rookie of the Year honors as the Barbarian in 1985, later known as Yukon John Nord and the Viking.
My biggest memory of the Berserker was when he tried to murder the Undertaker. And his sword got stuck in the ring and just sat there for like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that was a planned spot between them and the producers, or if those two just said like, "Yeah, we're going to do something with the sword. Don't worry about it." You know what I mean?
Did you know he almost went to the WWF early in 1989, Archie?
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, they were actually, if you can believe it, they were actually considering at that point. They were talking to Bruiser Brody. And they wanted to bring Bruiser Brody and John Nord in as a tag team.
Damn.
That would have been killer.
That would have been like Don and Ron Harris when they were the Bruise Brother, you know what I mean? But better.
And imagine if Brody would have went to the WWF, he might still be alive. Let's be honest.
Right.
I'm sorry, it was 89. It was 88, I believe.
Unless Jimmy Snuka would have worked with him, then he might have been dead.
And it's I'm not saying John Nord was like a great worker or anything like that, but I actually like the Berserker gimmick. It's like
I do too.
It's a guilty pleasure for me, and it's one of my favorite figures that I have.
And also, like you said about Warlord and Slick, Fuji and Berserker shouldn't have worked, but it did.
Right, it did. It for some reason did. The little black tuxedoed man and
My
this giant,
Berserker.
That one worked because he would just throw his opponent at, like, he'd kick the shit out of his opponent and then just throw him out of the ring. And then it was just
Mr. Fuji would kick him.
Number 67. Oh, sorry, guys.
I'm just saying it worked because Fuji laughed his ass off because Berserker was just kicking the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it wasn't hard to believe neither that he would travel from, Japan or whatever Oriental country that he was from to find him someone of that nature. He already had a Yokozuna, so maybe he's expanding out.
Oh, Master Fuji traveled to Scandinavia. Number 67, Colonel De Beers, 6'1", 248, 13 years pro, justly reviled. Uses his position as a wrestler to express his sordid political beliefs. Hails from South Africa. Memorable, violent feud with Jimmy Snuka in 1986. Colonel De Beers, I don't have a lot of time.
Isn't he like overly racist?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Horrible human being.
Well, not in real life, but he's a character that I was going to say that's why I wasn't a fan of Colonel De Beers, because there's like a few things in wrestling that I don't like. You guys know me. I think everything's funny, and I'm not like a what do they call it nowadays, like a snowflake or whatever. But like, there's a few topics in wrestling that just kind of off-put me.
Right.
And that type of gimmick is a gimmick where it's like you don't need to do that.
Right. I agree.
Like sexual baiting thing, it's like I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
It'd have been a lot cooler if there where it was bring on the beers instead of Colonel.
The only time the race thing has ever worked for me in wrestling was the early Nation with Farouk. For some reason, that works.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, we also watched.
But see, Farouk wasn't racist.
He was playing the race card.
Yeah, he was.
No,
his character was racist,
but his character hated everybody.
Yeah, I guess Aaron has a small point there.
Like
he hated everyone equally.
His character, like Colonel De Beers' character, hated everybody that wasn't white. Farouk's character hated everybody. Like he tried
to like a Hawaiian and a Puerto Rican, but they turned on him, and then he had to fire them. You know,
he would even be like, you lazy black bastard. You know what I mean? Like,
hot as a jalapeno pepper. You're fired.
Yeah.
When he fired everybody out of the Nation, but then he was like, "Not you, D'Lo. I like you." I was like, "Damn, Farouk actually showed heart." You know. But we watched that UWF pay-per-view, I think it was, and he was on it, Colonel De Beers.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't very good in the ring as it was. He was a little clumsy, and
he stunk.
I guess the racist thing was the only thing he had going for him.
Yeah, and it was bad.
Well, let's move on to somebody good. I mean, not as a person, but as a wrestler. Number 66 is Chris Adams, 6'1", 228, 13 years pro, born and raised in Stratford, England, a four-time world-class champion. His super kick, karate blow, is one of the sport's most emulated moves. Great wrestler,
especially
bad
nowadays.
Human being.
Shitty human being.
You said he was born and raised where?
Stratford, England. Actually, when they introduced him as from Stratford-on-Avon.
Yeah,
that's weird because it says place of birth, Rugby, England.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that was that's not as marketable as Stratford-on-Avon.
Right. You know where his place of death was?
Texas.
Waxahachie,
Texas.
If you guys, and I think we should review this at some point. Have you guys watched The Gentleman's Choice?
No.
No.
Oh, Nate, you know what I'm talking about. Me and Chris me and Chad told you to watch it.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like the Tiger Blood or Tiger King of wrestling. Like
That was one of the suggestions that Netflix gave you afterwards.
No, like I found this thing on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's basically the story of Chris Adams told like through interviews with this collection of just trailer trash that he lived with and hung out with, and it's fucking
Everybody from the trailer park.
it's fucking amazing.
Hold on. I have to watch
Disgusting.
an hour and 34 minutes of this, and it's by Hannibal TV.
You get to watch an hour.
Oh,
No,
you
I
said
will
that like
say
it was a
again.
privilege.
I gotta watch an hour and 34 minutes of this shit. Okay.
Well, you don't have to, but I'm just saying, like,
You know I watch everything you say to watch. The only thing I didn't watch was that piece of shit Hogan movie.
Yeah, thank you, asshole. I did.
like that. But
Well, I wasn't even on the episode, so it didn't matter if I watched it or not.
But anyway, like, I'm just saying, watch that. And I don't want that to be the only thing we talk about with Chris Adams, because Chris Adams, like Nate was saying, in ring was fucking great. Like, that guy was
The best thing he did for the wrestling business, gave us Stone Cold.
Yeah, he trained Stone Cold, exactly.
And him and Gino Hernandez as a tag team, Gino, fucking great.
Their feud was phenomenal.
And they were great. They were a great tag team.
Yes, they were.
And like his introduction as being like a pen pal to the Von Erichs, and it was all good shit. But just like Nate said, a fucking kind of a trash bag human being. But
all right, number 65. Stand up, everybody, and then look down a little bit. Bill Dundee, 5'7", 214, 17 years pro, veteran, a USWA superstar, held the AWA World Tag titles twice with Jerry Lawler in '87, the three-time CWA champion, a crowd pleaser. Okay, watch Memphis wrestling. And other than Jerry Lawler in the history of Memphis, Jerry Lawler and Jack Fargo. There is nobody more over than Bill Dundee. I can make the jokes about his height or whatever. No, that dude was over as fuck in Memphis.
And he worked our friend Chad Austin in Memphis.
Yes, he did. And he is the epitome. He is, what do I want to say? He is the wrestler that used the word daddy. Daddy. The most of any pro wrestler in history. And again, I'm not shitting on him because the guy was over his shit and he did his job. So obviously he did his job properly. In Memphis, Jerry Lawler's greatest opponent.
He was born in 1943 and he's still not dead?
Nope.
Holy shit.
Damn, he's going to have his last match pretty soon, too.
That's a good run for a pro wrestler.
Hell yeah.
And actually, guys, even the best, worst wrestling podcast I've ever listened to in my life is Bill Dundee's podcast.
I have
best
to say,
worst.
It's the best.
It's so contradictory.
It's amazing. It's amazing because he's just like fucking bitch and all this. And it's like a train wreck to listen to, but it's great. This fucking bitch come in the locker room, you know.
The accent puts it over.
Probably.
Now he looks like a stitched together puppet of Marty Stewart.
I will say this though, I like Bill Dundee in Memphis, but then when he got to WCW as Steven Regal's manager, I was kind of like, I don't know, it made me laugh because you took a guy who was that over in Memphis and was like, no, you're gonna manage, we're gonna put you in a little penguin outfit and you're gonna sit there and trip people with an umbrella and that's all you're gonna do.
Sure.
Okay.
William Regal talks about it. Because, he was like Sir William or whatever, but he was a butler. Mm-hmm. And William Regal was like trying to tell the WCW people, like, a butler would never get the title of a sir.
Right.
Like, this doesn't work. Like it
He's
works.
like, if we're gonna be correct about this, fuckers.
He's a butler, but he's a sir. Like, what's going on?
He was better than Chives, though.
But Bill Dundee.
My internet is back, folks, so I don't sound like I'm calling from 1997
Awesome.
anymore.
You mean you're not in the
Get off the
shower anymore?
payphone.
1-900-COLLECT. Lee Marshall here, folks.
Guys, if you kept hearing a click, it was Nate having to put more quarters in.
I had to use the
Calling was
quarters
acting up.
like a weasel.
Yeah, but the last thing I'll say about Bill Dundee was that we made fun of his height, and he looks like a Marty Stewart puppet and all that shit. But in the ring and promo wise and all that, he was fucking talented. And in the late 70s and early 80s, I can't remember what his tag team partner's name was, so it's out of my head or whatever. But like,
you know that thing?
Mark.
Oh, go ahead.
Mark, that would be you. You need to look that up.
What?
But they were like,
Who his tag team partner was? Yeah.
but
what
like
year? 91.
no, like I'm talking about like in the late 70s or late. You don't have to look it up, but they were from Australia, and they were the U.S. Tag Team Champions. And
George Barnes.
Yes, what they would do with the U.S. Tag Team Championships, they dragged them to the ring. They didn't wear them. They didn't put them on their shoulders. They dragged them to the ring because
that's how a heel should be from another country when you got a U.S. title.
To be the U.S. Tag Team Champions. Like, that was cool shit.
Number
Why
60.
didn't any of his talent rub off on his son?
Oh, his son was super talented. Just
not really. PG-13 sucks, man.
Oh my god, damn.
We'll talk about how awesome JB Dundee was, but
Number 64 is Tony Atlas.
6'2",
247, 14 years pro, known as Saba Simba during his recent WWF stint, former Mr. USA bodybuilding champion, two-time IWCCW champion, managed by the devious Tony Rumble. You gotta love Tony Atlas.
Also in the 91 Royal Rumble.
Not very long, though.
But it doesn't matter, Archie. It doesn't matter.
That Saba, I don't shit on a lot of Vince McMahon stuff. A lot of people do, and I don't, because I understand where he was coming from. Sports entertainment. I am a
Fuck. He should have come out to the Circle of Life.
I am a Vince McMahon sympathizer a lot of the time as far as this stuff goes, and I will complain about the past decade because the past decade Vince wore thin. But anyway, one of his worst decisions was that god awful Saba Simba thing.
Yeah,
no sense.
It would have been I don't want to say okay gimmick. It would have been a better gimmick in like 87.
It also would have been a better gimmick had it been framed more like Tatanka and less like a clown show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, give it the gimmick what it was, and then add maybe some Papa Shango to me. That might have been, a little more ominous.
But the one thing I will say is, it was a terrible gimmick and everything like that. But when you listen to like Tony Atlas's like Hall of Fame induction and all that, he talks about he was at the lowest point of his life.
Yeah.
And was living in fucking crack houses and shit. And Vince went and got him out of there and was like, you know what I mean? Like,
we're not going to call you Mr. USA. We'll save that for Luger.
We look at it as, this was a quasi-racist kind of shitty gimmick. But Tony Atlas looks at it as this got me back on my feet.
Yes.
Right.
Like,
can you imagine Aaron, can you imagine what a heel faction of Akeem, Kamala, and Samba Simba managed by Slick would have looked like?
It would have been WWF version of the Dungeon of Doom.
Right. It would have been a bad Dungeon of Doom, but it might have actually came off well. And if they all would have attacked Dusty Rhodes.
Well, I mean, I'm a fan of the oddities, too, from my younger days. So, I mean, So it might have been over with me also. I'm not gonna like front like
But
it wouldn't have
but
been.
on the non-joking side, Tony is a good dude. I watched a MTV documentary. It was called MTV I'm a Pro Wrestler, and on the documentary it shows that the promoter was screwing the guys over, and he canceled the show the night of the show, and Tony literally paid out like 10 people out of his own pocket because guys were going to go home with no money because they drove 3 hours to make like $30. You know
Yep.
what I mean? So
No,
Yeah,
he's given back and he's done what he can for the business.
and I know
bro.
we're talking about 1990, 91 right now, but if you go back 10 years, you go to 81, 82 in the WWF and a couple of the other territories he worked in. Tony Atlas was so over, he could have been a candidate to be a world champion.
Yes.
I mean, he was
Definitely.
gangbusters, you know, and the other funny thing about him is if you go back and watch him at that period in the early 80s, as thick and as built as he was, he worked crystal, man. He was so good.
Yep.
He wasn't always the best on the mic, but you don't have to be when you're folksy like that, you know. And people, you know, is that the right word, folksy?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was humble spoken or whatever. It was like all like
Oh shucks, you know.
yeah, and it wasn't like the shucking and jiving thing of it. You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that like as a bad thing, because there was a lot of African American wrestlers that the promoters made him go out there and shuck and jive. But Tony Atlas didn't give me that vibe. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then
And
and especially at this time, before he would, it might have been a little after. No, it was before. My time frame might be fucked up. I actually liked Tony Atlas when he was doing the heel Atlas, where he was wearing like the black like Zumba.
That is after this.
Yeah,
That is after this. This is during the Ron Simmons title run in WCW.
yeah, I
Right.
like that Tony Atlas too. Like he was a good heel too.
Yeah, but then they
shoot
killed him when he
question,
lost
Nate.
the arm wrestling tournament.
Yeah, Nate, you're right. I'm right. You're right. That was when it was like the discounted faction of, and when I say discounted, I mean it doesn't get talked about enough. It was Cactus Jack, Barbarian, and heel Tony Atlas. It was cool.
And it was originally Butch Reed, and then he left, so they replaced him with Tony.
Yeah.
Shoot question, Nate. Is
Mhm.
do you know if David Gold's still listening?
No,
What?
He's not still listening.
he is not still listening.
So
He
let's
surprised and he went to bed.
test if he listens to this podcast. If he can tell me what I'm fixing to say in the group chat, then we chip in on a Christmas present for Gold and get the asylum picture with him with the $1 Million Man drawn by Tony Atlas and send it to him for Christmas.
Sounds good.
Let's
Sounds
do
good to
that.
me.
I ain't paying for nothing.
I'll put it down whatever I need to.
Number 63, Robert Gibson. 5'11", 225, 14 years pro. Former Rock and Roll Express member, is on his own, now feuding with his former partner Richard Morton. A successful comeback after a serious reconstructive knee surgery. The breakup of the Rock and Roll Express was stupid.
Shit.
Yes.
Never
Made no
happened.
sense.
Shit.
But I will say this: he was the worker while Ricky was the seller.
Right.
Oh,
I agree with
Ricky Morton and Shawn Michaels are the two greatest salesmen in wrestling history.
And I put Henning in that category too.
I agree, but the reason I don't, and we'll get back to Robert. The reason I don't put Kurt there is because he did not spend the majority of his career as a babyface,
Right.
so he didn't have to sell as much.
Kurt.
But I agree with you. He was a great salesman, Mark. I totally agree.
And Nate,
Right.
the reason I won't say that about Kurt, and you guys know my love for Kurt Hennig. Kurt was like sometimes like way over the top with it.
He was like Arn. He was a Super Bowl.
Yeah, like he'd get his head hit on the fucking turnbuckle and do like 4 flips because he was trying to show the guys in the locker room best fucking athlete in here. You know what I mean? But
right.
Like,
but like if you ask the top 3 for me, that's the top 3.
This might be controversial. You know who I'd put over Kurt as a you know who I'd put on that salesman list? And this might be controversial.
All right, who's your top 3?
Well, it's not my top 3, but I'd put this guy on my list. Hogan.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Hogan sold. Yeah, I will agree with
Listen,
that. Hogan
but this is what I will say about Hogan. He is known for that moment of no selling with the Hulk up.
Yeah, but
like you want to see that
until you
got
the
leading up to that. You know,
if Hogan's match went 14 fucking minutes, he's selling for like 8 of it. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, but that's part of the psychology of it.
Well, I'll slaughter a sacred cow real quick. You know who is an overrated seller? Like people act like he's a great salesman, but he really wasn't. Ricky Steamboat.
Which Ricky are we talking about?
Just him in general.
WCW or WWF?
He was a great. I'm not saying he wasn't a great babyface wrestler, but I would put Sean selling, Kurt selling, Robert selling, Ricky selling, Lex Luger selling over Steamboat.
I don't know if I'd put Luger.
No, yes, and the reason I say that, I would.
That was a little far, Nate.
I'll die on the hill. I'll die on the hill. Steamboat, in the moment, always got too much. Not for the hot angle where he's getting the DDT on the concrete, but watch a Ricky Steamboat Ric Flair match.
All right, Steamboat, you brought him up
too much on the cell. He got too much on the cell.
You brought him up. So when you think Steamboat, what match do you think of? Because there's always when you think of a wrestler, you think that one match. What match is it for you?
Flair Steamboat, 89 in Tennessee.
And I've also seen Flair Steamboat. I've watched the WWE rivalries on it. But for me, it's him and Savage.
Which was completely mapped out from beginning to end for 3 weeks. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and I don't, oh God, we're doing the 500. I don't want to get in the weeds. This could be a whole fucking half hour of a show. Steamboat, right. I am not shitting on Steamboat at all as a worker. He's one of the great workers of all time. But I do not put him in my top 10 salesmen ever. He got too much on the sell. He got too much on the sell. And I think he gets too much credit. Aaron's smiling.
We'll agree on that one.
I'm smiling because I just thought like it's a non-wrestling quote, but it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite things I've ever heard of any wrestler say about another wrestler. Okay, and it was Ricky Morton talking about Robert Gibson, and he was talking about his endowment.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Here comes something about an appendage.
And Ricky Morton said, "You know how most of us have to walk across the room and stick it in?" And they're like, "Yeah."
He sticks it in and walks across the room.
And he said, "Robert sticks it in and walks across the room."
Good job, Poot. Good job. Number 62. Oof.
How did he make it that high?
62 is Dan Spivey. 6'8", 300, 8 years pro, coming into his own in the U.S., former member of the Skyscrapers with Sid Vicious, teams with Stan Hansen as one of the Orient's most feared duos, a true giant. I'm going to be honest, the only time I was ever a fan of Dan Spivey was when he was Waylon Mercy. That's the honest to God truth.
You know what's crazy? Like completely. Yeah, it's about the same person, but like completely off topic. If you take a Nick Jackson AEW head and you can use that for a Waylon Mercy. Archie, am I lying?
I
Archie, am I
I
lying?
I will
They have
agree,
the
but
same sunroof.
I agree, but I prefer Shawn Michaels retro head because the 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 dumbass look on his face, it kind of reminded me of the Waylon Mercy face, but that's
Nick
just me.
Jackson has to come out next week and be like, lives are going to be in
Listen,
the young
I
buck reckless hands.
I sent Archie pictures of cast headlight that I got that
Fuck
somebody
the
had
Bucks,
extra,
by the way.
and he's like, "Is that Waylon Mercy?" So I post them in the group with the other customizers, and they're like, "That's Nick Jackson." And Archie's like, me and him's having a conversation about these heads,
Yep.
and he's like, "I could have swore that was Waylon Mercy," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Apparently, it's Nick Jackson."
But as far as Dan Spivey goes, I think the reason he got so high on this list at being number 62 is because of the Japanese, his influence in Japan.
Right.
But at this time, yeah, his tag team with Sid, and he did pretty decent with Mark too, because him and Mark Calloway wrestled as a skyscraper.
Yeah, but they didn't do decent.
Well, I mean, they beat the shit out of the Road Warriors. That was
They
about their
did.
only claim to fame.
But he was just he was just. I'm not trying to cut you off, but Dan Spivey just, like I said, that Waylon Mercy thing, man, he channeled that, and I think that
really
had he not been so injured and been able to continue with it, it would have been the best part of his career, because he just, to me, just did not cut it. He just was
with that.
ridiculous.
Do you know who he was trained by?
Who?
He was actually trained by Ricky Steamboat and Barry Windham.
Well, they did a terrible job.
What I was going to say is, though,
that whole flip and flop with the skyscrapers. Imagine if Sid and fucking Taker would have wound up the skyscrapers.
Right. What I was going to say is, though, is if he would have left from the skyscrapers and done the Waylon Mercy thing in WWF immediately afterwards, Nate, he might have gotten a good 2 or 3 year run with no injury. But because he went to Japan and did that hard style there and whatever, and then came to the WWF, he was already in his age by then, so it kind of hurt him.
All right, we're trying to get to 50 here in our 90 minutes, because I want to make sure that we get to the top 50 in the last episode of this series. Number 61 is Stan Lane, 6'1", 225, 13 years pro, part of 2 great 80s tag teams, the Fabulous Ones and the Midnight Express, now on his own in Global, still managed by Jim Cornette. Exceptional martial arts skill.
So this was after Cornette and Lane walked out of WCW and left Bobby by himself.
Yes.
And when they went to Global. See, now I'm a big Stan Lane fan. I liked him more as a Midnight than I did as a Fabulous One. But my only problem with Stan, and I don't know if you guys will back me up on this or not, he didn't know how to talk at all. Even when he was a commentator in WWE, he really didn't know how to put his words together.
I think Stan knew how to talk. My thing with Stan is the guy doing the car dealer doing his own commercial.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Do you know who his trainer was?
Stan Lane?
You say Ricky Steamboat.
It was. You're right, Aaron. Aaron, you are correct.
Rick Flair ever trained.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Lane.
And he was great.
Is that why he wore the robes, you think? Maybe the Flair, the Flair rub-off? Because Stan wore robes a couple of times to the ring.
But Flair said that he found Stan Lane because Stan Lane was working at a resort that Flair was at, and Lane was working as like a basically taking like drinks out to like the pool and all this other shit. And Flair said he was watching him and was like, man, this guy's getting more poon than I am. Just a fucking waiter. And was just watching him work with like the chicks and shit, and saw his build and everything, and was like, you should be in the business, and got him into the business. I'm a Stan Lane fan.
I'm glad you knew that.
I'm glad I did too.
Number 60. You talk about charisma. And I'll never say this guy's bell to bell a great worker. But no, what's the definition of a worker? Maybe he is.
All right, this
Because
is what I will say about him without saying his name. He was a great seller.
Mm-hmm. Great promo.
He,
God damn
great,
good
yeah,
promo.
great promo,
Top 15 promo of all time.
charisma, and he wasn't built like a brick shit house, but he wasn't just slabs instead of abs.
Is it Jake Roberts?
No, but that is the thing. That is the thing. What is the definition of a worker? Does it have to
Right.
be a Chris Benoit?
No.
Maybe not.
Is it
Here it
Cactus Jack?
is. No. Number 60.
No.
Well, it's Michael Hayes. 6'1", 255, 12 years pro, founding member of the Freebirds. He and Jim Garvin are the current U.S. Tag Team Champions. Trio of Hayes, Terry Gordy, and Buddy Roberts were a classic 80s tag team. What a charismatic son of a bitch Michael
He's
Hayes
the guy
is.
that I mentioned. He's not the guy that I mentioned, but he's the thing that I said about talking people into a building.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
To me, a worker is a guy that knows his fucking job, knows exactly what he's supposed to do, and doesn't have any misgivings about what he's supposed to be doing other than fucking selling tickets and drawing a crowd. That's a fucking worker.
And doing his spot. Like, if you're supposed to put the other guy over, that happens, and it looks good. And if you're supposed to go, over on him, you do it. And if you're heel, you get your heat. If you're babyface, you get your pop. And that, to me, is what defines a good worker.
And
That's
let's
I
all
agree.
let's all. Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
I was just gonna say this. All right, Nate, Shawn Michaels. Let's say this. I'm just gonna use this as an example. Shawn Michaels, great worker, right?
Yep.
Okay. His match with Hulk Hogan. In that match, would you consider Shawn Michaels in that match a great worker? No.
For me viewing it, or for the mass audience? Because I thought it was hilarious.
You thought it was hilarious. Yes, it was hilarious.
Well,
but in that match, was he being a worker?
Yes.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
Well, here's why, though. Here's why, though.
He wasn't doing his job in that match.
Yes, he
but
did.
It was Hogan's politics that made Shawn do that. Otherwise, we would have got a totally different match.
But that's what I'm trying to say, guys. In that match,
but see, I don't see
in that match.
I don't want to fight with you.
I know,
because we're talking about Hayes.
I'm sure y'all did that enough.
In that match, and here's what I'll say: he was a good worker. Did he work with a bit of sarcasm?
Yeah, he worked with a lot of sarcasm.
Yes, he did. But for Shawn's style versus Hogan's style, did he or did he not sell to the equivalent that Earthquake would have in 1990 for Hulk Hogan?
No.
Yes, he did. Shawn's a high risk, high impact worker, and he sold high risk impact over the top. It's no different than Rock's selling the shit out of Austin's Stunner.
Yeah, and that was gold, by the way. That was gold.
Oh, that was stupid.
When he hit that stunner and then he'd do that flip bump.
And did the crowd pop?
Yeah, like every time.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that's how I feel. Like,
I get what you're saying too. But back to Hayes.
Go ahead. Well, okay, this is the last thing I'll say about it. With the Shawn thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I was talking about like people knowing their place and being a worker or whatever. He didn't do that shit to Brett. Okay.
He wanted to.
No, he didn't do that shit with Bret because he respected, for everything that he hated about Bret Hart, he respected him as a worker, and he respected where he was at on the card and in the company. And then by the time he got to Hogan, he fucking hated Hogan. Like, the only thing like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels couldn't agree on is they both fucking hate Hulk Hogan.
Right.
I mean, once he got to that point, he just, like, to me, that diminished it. That diminished Hogan versus Shawn with the way he sold, in my
But
opinion.
again, it was Hogan's fault for that happening. If Hogan wouldn't have politicked as bad as he did and make Shawn feel like, oh, you're not in my level, so I got to just destroy you and then Shawn would have had a totally different other match.
I understand that. But also, at the end of the day, you're going out there and you're... Anyway. Nate, do you have
Listen, the thing the situation that you're speaking on, it's also like this. You deal with them egos in independent wrestling. Like, it's no secret. You know, I put on independent wrestling shows with a partner of mine, and like, you deal with them type of egos, even with guys who really aren't a fucking Hulk Hogan. Like, it's just a thing with wrestling.
Mhm.
Like, you're gonna have those egos, and they're gonna clash, and then you're gonna have this one guy that say, "Fuck that finish! I don't feel like that should happen." And
Now,
then
you see, it's good that Aaron brought this up, because you look at a guy like Michael Hayes, and he was a polar opposite. He didn't politic for shit like that. If they told him Kerry or one of the Von Erichs were beating him that night, he did his job. You know what I mean? In the same regard, when he got to WCW, if they told him, "Hey, you guys are going to get destroyed by the Road Warriors tonight," they did their job.
And congrats,
You know,
and congrats to him on his post wrestling career as a pimp.
right? You know, I think I will say this though, Nate.
We're all very proud of Michael Pimp Style Hayes. That's PS.
Him and the Godfather shop at the same store.
Yeah.
But I think he missed his calling.
The State Puff Marshmallow Pimp?
Yeah, the State Puff Marshmallow Pimp.
But I will say this. I think he missed his calling in his later part in life of being possibly a manager, because he did pretty well with the Hardys before they turned on him.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they would have given him 2 young guys, or maybe a couple of second generation guys, that he could have done not a new Freebirds with, but something along those lines. It might have
well, I mean, just give him 2 guys that's not great at promos, and then because he's a mouthpiece,
and not that tight shirt and Junkos. Let's be honest.
No. Let him be a pimp. Let him come out in the pimp suit.
Number 59. We're going to try to get through him here. Doug Furnace, 5'11", 265, 5 years pro. Some say this Oklahoman is the strongest man anywhere. He and Dan Crawford are a fine duo in Japan. Set a world record with combined lift of 2,403 pounds in 1987.
Is it just me, or does he look like Bo Dallas with a goatee and cheeky hair?
He was a powerhouse. He was a great tag team wrestler. I think him and Crawford, I've said this before when we've mentioned them before, should have had a run with the titles, at least in the WWF, but if not, then in ECW. Because I would have loved to have seen them versus the Eliminators at the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in 91, I really didn't see that much of Doug Furnace, I guess because he was in Japan.
And at some point, and I don't know, to be honest, I'm rusty on my timeline. I think it was maybe 90, 91. He made a short run in the WCW where they tried to push him a little bit.
He was there.
But yeah, the biggest thing for me about Furnace that he was lacking
was LaFon.
Well, that too, but both of them combined were lacking promo skills.
Definitely.
Yeah, Doug had one of the best fucking drop kicks you ever seen wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's like we were talking about on that year that was, and I was like, I got model Rick Martel vibes from his promo.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If anybody could have used a cornet or even a Fuji for that matter, because they had Japanese ties. You know what I mean? Being in Japan and whatnot,
Yeah.
they needed a mouthpiece. They needed somebody to come out there with them and say, "This is the best tag team in the world. They're going to get it done. Watch them in the ring." And then people might have took a notice a little more. I don't know.
Like it might be out of left field, but I'd put his drop kick up there with like Bob Holly. Because Bob Holly had a fantastic fucking drop.
Barry Windham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always appreciated Hennings with the standing drop kick, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because he would hold the guy there and then jump straight to their heads. Yeah, Henning had a crazy vertical leap.
Oh, Kurt Hennig and Kurt Angle are the two greatest athletes in the history of the business that we've watched. I never watched fucking George Hackenschmidt, so if you were alive in 1906, don't shit on me. But I'm just saying. Go ahead,
Nate.
Archie.
I have something I got to say something real quick, and this is not a knock at you, but since we started the 500, you've thrown so much hatred at like 40s and 50s wrestling.
Well, I'm
because
just
we
saying.
didn't watch it.
Well, no, because
every week Nate curses somebody that loves that style of wrestling.
And I'm not necessarily cursing them, but I see the pretentious people in wrestling a lot of the time because I interact with other historians and other podcasters like at a high level. And sometimes they're like, well, you say in the history of pro. Well, goddamn, I was born in 78. Right. It's not like I'm, I'm sorry I never saw a full-length Dory Funk match. I might have taken a fucking nap. I'm just saying. Anyway, moving on.
I'm only going to talk. This is what I would say if I was going to go on some podcast with some wrestling historians or whatever. I'd be like, for the wrestlers that you want to talk about active before the invention of Toll House cookies. before there was a Keebler elf, I'm not there. Number 58.
Nate, one last thing.
I don't want to talk about.
Nate, one last thing. When I see guys our age go into the, I happen to love Ed the Strangler Lewis. I'm like, when did you have time to go back and watch those matches?
I've never seen an Egg the Strangler Lewis. I said Egg.
Lewis.
Hold on.
Lewis. That should be the fucking name right there. Ed the Strangler Lewis.
I said, and I quote, not just Lewis. I said Egg the Strangler Lewis.
Hey.
I love it.
Suck it, historians.
Hey.
What are you, Daryl? Are you Daryl from Walking Dead? Hey.
Yeah. Listen.
You can tell he's been watching.
Hey. Back in the day when we did the old gimmick shows where we would have like stupid wrestler gimmicks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought of it.
Damn it, Egg the Scrambler Lewis.
Wouldn't the Scrappler be better, though, considering what we talked about on Reliving the Extreme?
Egg the Scrambler Lewis. He leaves all his opponents sunny side up.
Aaron, he comes
He's
to the ring in one of those big heads.
He's hard-boiled.
Aaron, he comes to the ring in one of those big chef hats, to kind of droop over. Yeah. And a smock,
Egg the Scrambler Lewis.
That's what they could have called. Remember,
he fucked up Hard-Boiled Haggerty.
Yeah.
Remember when Undertaker always tells the story? He thought he was going to be Eggman. That should have been his name, Egg the Scrambler Lewis.
He won by throwing him out the ring in 13 seconds.
His opponent was poached.
God damn it! We're trying to get through to 50. Listen, 58.
58.
A great wrestler. One of the best big men ever. Bam Bam Bigelow. 6'3", 368, 6 years pro, known as the Beast from the East, New Jersey Giant combines huge size, power, and speed into an all-out attack. Has competed in Japan, WWF, and WCW. There's not going to be any disagreement here on Bam Bam.
Are we talking about Bam Bam or me? Because you said New Jersey powerhouse, and
Yeah, he worked a lot of New Japan in '90.
We're talking about Bam Bam.
Oh, but the one NWA show that he did work Well, no, that would be two. I'm assuming. No, that's only just two of them. He worked two NWA shows in '90 that they have on record here, and he lost to Tommy Rich on the first one at NWA Clash of the, and then at Capital Combat, Animal and Hawk, and Norman the Lunatic went over on Bam Bam Bigelow, Cactus Jack, and Kevin Sullivan.
Sullivan's Slaughterhouse.
Yeah. It was a couple of years before 90-91, but you want to watch a really good fucking match, watch him and Barry Windham's Starcade match. It's great.
Well, despite what they say about the opposite guy in the match that I always think of Bam Bam in is Bam Bam and LT.
Yep.
Bam Bam protected Taylor. Definitely gave us a good match. I have to say something about Bam Bam. I've always been a huge fan, but the fact that this man, without changing his gimmick, reinvented himself 3 times. Like there was his early mid '80s to early '90s career, then his career when he came back and was with $1 Million Man and fought LT, and then he went to ECW and then back to WCW, and had another career there as a hardcore fighter. That's pretty impressive for a guy's career, in my opinion.
Archie.
Yes.
So that begs a question for me, and I want to pose it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to pose it to the other guys, because the reason I want to pose it to you is because of what you just said, and it was very insightful, because I agree. And as much as we are both fans of both of these guys,
Right.
with what you just said about him reinventing himself and evolving as a wrestler and evolving through companies and etc.,
Right.
who's better, Bam Bam or Vader?
I hate to say this because I love them both equally.
Oh, me too.
I love their
Me
tag
too.
team. Their tag team was phenomenal in Japan. But I have to go with Vader only because Vader got the bigger push and was a world champion.
See, and I part ways.
And I would.
I think
Right.
Bam Bam. I think Bam Bam. I think Bam Bam adapted better wherever he
I
went
agree with that.
than Vader did.
That's the greatest
But-
big boy top rope move of all time.
Oh yeah, that moonsault was unbelievable, and that headbutt. I mean, the guy floated.
Can I say my one thing?
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Bammer never lost a step.
Nope.
Vader lost
Nah.
a step. Bammer never lost it.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Vader lost his work. Bammer never did.
And you could blame it on the environment.
Right.
I can blame it on the weight.
Well,
Well,
that
but
too.
he also Vader, and I don't want to get in the weeds, but Vader dealt with a lot more politics than Bam Bam ever did.
Yeah, and it's 'cause
Well,
Vader was more of a teddy bear. You know what I mean? He's just a whatever.
Vader was more of a drinker, and Bam Bam was more of a drugger. I mean, I hate to put it like that, but that's the legitimate truth of it. He died of a drug overdose and heart failure, versus Vader getting pulled over from the police for chasing frogs in his vehicle.
But as far as the environment for both of them in the WWF, both kind of got the short end of the stick because Bam Bam wasn't well liked by the clique either, according to Diesel and Shawn Michaels. You know, what I mean? When they've done,
I think like Aaron, like was it you, Aaron, that said like a pushover or a?
Yeah, I don't want to say a
right.
pushover.
Vader was
but
willing. Vader
was
was willing to
more
go
of
with
a,
the flow more.
I'm just here to make money and support my family.
I'll go with the flow. Whereas
Yeah.
Bam Bam was like, well, fuck this shit. I'm out of here then.
I'm done.
Right.
I'll see you later.
Bitch, I got a head tattoo. I'm harder than any of you
Right.
motherfuckers.
Number 57 is a guy.
Sorry,
Oh, go ahead,
this is
Aaron.
the only thing I'll say. If Shawn Michaels would have done to Bam Bam Bigelow what he did to Vader at that SummerSlam, Bam Bam would have stood up, just fucking decked the
Would have
shit out.
popped up and smacked the shit out of him. Yeah, without a doubt.
You would have seen a real life shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Number 57, another guy who I think could have been a much bigger star had he got out of his own way.
I'm
Marty
gonna say,
Jannetty.
Archie, I am not your him.
Marty
I'm not your
Jannetty,
Marty Jannetty.
5'11",
said you were my
230,
Marty
7
Jannetty.
years pro. A member of the Rockers with Shawn Michaels, not as high-flying as Michaels, but every bit as effective. Won the Central States singles title in 1985. Marty could have been a huge star.
Archie,
Yeah.
you're not super kicking me through any fucking
Well,
windows.
at the end of the show, we will go over who you and I are so that you don't get worried about me super kicking you through a window. But as far as Marty Jannetty goes, you know how we always say got in his own way? With Marty, he tripped over his own fucking feet. You
He
know?
was
Literally.
part of Jim
Literally.
Neidhart's fucking.
Literally.
He was part of Jim Neidhart's fanny pack.
Right. They were part of that fanny pack. They
and,
owned it
and
together.
this might be a, like I said, this might be a, oh, you're wrong, completely wrong statement that you guys are going to tell me I'm wrong. There was a point, and if you do, it's fine. There was a point when the Rockers were a tag team that Marty was better than Shawn.
Oh, yeah.
He was getting a bigger reaction.
Fundamentally, as a worker,
Yeah.
yes,
But it just,
I will agree with that, and I believe the tag team between them two led to Shawn basically learning the game.
yeah.
Right.
And Shawn had the better personality and projection or whatever, but in the ring, when the Rockers were a thing, fucking Marty was better than him. In my opinion.
And you know how Nate likes the historian parts of this kind of thing. So, do you know who his trainer was? And his trainer is actually a legend throughout a lot of the South that a lot of people still hold in high regard.
I actually do not.
Jerry Oates.
Well, I'll be damned.
The guy from Hall & Oates?
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I love Rich Girl. That's a good song.
It is.
but honestly, Jerry Oates was at a show probably like about 3 years ago that I attended.
Well, I met Marty at Icons of the Ring about a year and a half ago, and I walked up to him. I told him I'm a big fan. Told my wife's a big fan because my wife loved the Rockers when she was growing up too. Got his autograph. He autographed an 8x10, and I'm like, look, if I FaceTime her, will you say hi? And I swear to God, this son of a bitch looked at me in a drugged out or drunken stoop. Mind you, it was only 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and said, yeah, man, I'll do anything for $50. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, just talk to my manager. So I go to the
Do
girl
something
that's handling
strange
his.
for a little bit of change.
Right. And I'm like, he said $50. Is there any way we can work on that price? She's like, oh, he can't do phone calls. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, he's not allowed to use the phone. Don't even bring that up again. I can't. I'm like,
He
okay,
might have
thank
murdered
you.
somebody else in Columbus, Georgia.
I literally looked at this woman and said, thank you, turned around and walked away while Marty went, wait, where you go? What are you doing? And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
So,
I got 50 right here, fucker.
I love Jerry's tag team. I love Jerry Oates' tag team with Scott.
Number 50.
It registered. It finally fucking registered where
all the notes.
who I was speaking about.
I was trying to say it, but you guys wouldn't shut the fuck up.
That tends to happen on here.
It's like a group
now you know.
here.
Now you know how we feel some weeks. Some weeks we can't talk over you.
This is We Can't Wrestle, not the year that was.
Number 55. Number 55, a guy that I'm a mark for, the Patriot. 6'4", 280, 3 years pro. Mystery Man is Global's hottest wrestler. Won the Federation's television title within a month of entering the league. Outstanding speed, power, and balance. 55.
56.
Oh, I'm sorry, 56. Shit.
Yeah, you can't skip over Ricky Morton.
I can't. Richard Morton.
You could
It's
skip over
Ricky,
Richard.
damn it.
You could skip over Richard. You can't skip over Ricky.
But yeah, Richard Morton, Ricky Morton. We talked about him earlier. There's not a lot more to say. One of the top 3
That's
to 5
number one
best
seller.
salesmen in
Number
wrestling
one seller
history. You
in
know
all
what?
of history
Yes,
to me.
I'll agree with you, Brew. He's the best salesman.
The York Foundation was a stupid
You will
idea
never like
because they didn't
when
do the right thing.
literally when you are training and they're teaching you to get that reaction out of the fans, they say do the Ricky Morton.
Mm-hmm.
He's my
I like
second. He's my second favorite live event wrestler I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, Ricky's great live.
Well, even
Ricky
on
is great
Flair's
live.
last match card, like that legacy match, that was a pretty good match.
He's my second favorite live wrestler I've ever seen.
Yeah, I saw people saying things like, "Why did Ricky team with his son when Robert was on the outside? Why didn't they do another younger guy?" And
It's
like,
his
'cause
son.
Ricky
He's
Morton,
putting over his legacy, you idiot.
right?
It's called a legacy match.
And
Who
Robert
would want to
retired.
team with their kid? Right, Robert retired, and Ricky just wanted to. And it's Ric Flair's last match. Let it be. But I will say this: Ricky looked a hell of a lot better than Flair did.
Mm-hmm.
So
Indeed.
But yeah, Ricky's one of the greats. And like I said, we expounded on him earlier where we talked about Robert. The Patriot at 55.
Yeah, Will.
I was one of my biggest memories as a kid, and Aaron will remember because we were both there. We come home from school every day, and there's Global. And was it always good? No. But it was there, and it was wrestling to consume that wasn't the WWF and WCW.
right, and it was on in the morning, not morning, but early afternoon.
And honestly, it felt special like that, though, didn't it?
And
Right.
Be honest, it felt special like that because you know that's wrestling that's specific to your area, and you get to see
Right.
this on television,
Mm-hmm.
And
the rest of the country is not.
And Dell was like one of the 4 guys on that show that looked like a fucking wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like,
Well, thank God it wasn't the Salvatore Sincere version that Archie got.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the 4 guys on Global, and then I'll shut up. The 4 guys on Global Wrestling that looked like fucking wrestlers, and one of these guys I'm gonna give credit to, and you guys know I don't fucking like him, were Del Welks, the Ebony Experience, and the Handsome Stranger.
And for the
Aaron.
people at home,
Are any
who
of
don't know
those
who
buttons
those people
off?
are,
One of them's buff. The Handsome
Aaron.
Stranger
Aaron.
looked like a fucking wrestler.
Aaron,
What?
have you watched Bagwell's Mr. Rogers shit? Because it's amazing.
oh God,
I have not
it's
yet.
unbelievable.
It's-
It's
I ain't
unbelievable.
Aaron, but I will answer that. I have not yet, and do not spoil it for me, motherfucker.
I did because other people have posted it. They've
It's
been like,
great. It's fucking great.
What a transformation!
And God bless him. God bless him. If he's cleaning himself up, good for him, man. But yeah, I agree with Aaron about
You
those
can't
4
polish
guys.
it.
And yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
But and I'll agree with Aaron. Those 4 guys were the guys on Global that look like wrestlers. Now,
Yep.
did they necessarily work the best? Not all of them. Dell did, but he stuck out. And from and what proves that is we're talking about 1991, and I'm watching him on Global. I got interested in him early in his career. He may be, because at that time I was 12 or 13 years old, he may be the first wrestler that I really got interested in from the beginning of his fucking career.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And I watched him go up through WCW with his tag team with, ironically, Bagwell.
It was the beginning of his upward swing because He was in AWA as like a trooper and all that shit.
Yeah, but I didn't know that shit.
Nate was watching this shit and he was like, he should come out and I'm proud to be an American. Or at least I know I'm free.
God damn it.
Like,
It was the Patriot. You were feeling good about being an American just vicariously living through watching that wrestling.
And now I see a bunch of shit kickers dressed head to toe in red, white, and blue, and I'm like, you look like a fucking moron, Joe Dirt. But anyway.
Fake ass Uncle Sam.
It would have been much better if Vince got him in 94 instead of 96.
Yes.
Right.
Number 54, Bob Backlund. 6'1", 242, 18 years pro, one of the greatest WWF World Champions, has returned recently to the UWF and East Coast Independence, hasn't lost a step, a true credit to the sport of wrestling. At this time, Bob, again, he's in Herb Abrams' UWF and kind of floating around.
Where everybody was when they needed drugs.
Right. Good shit. Herb had good shit.
Drugs.
Bob's drug was working out.
Yep.
Like
he was the CM Punk of that era.
Yes, you got it.
Definitely.
Kevin Nash.
Now you know why we're friends, mate.
Quick, I know I keep talking about like shoot stories. Did I tell you guys the Kevin Nash, Bob Backlund story?
I think we've all heard that. If you haven't,
have you guys heard it?
Under a rock somewhere?
No, Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash was in a hotel next door to Bob Backlund.
Well, he didn't know it was Backlund at first.
Right.
This isn't going to end well. Go ahead.
Archie's like, go ahead and fuck it up for me while I meet him at the WrestleMania.
Am I telling it or are you telling it?
So Kevin Nash was in a hotel room next to Bob Backlund. He didn't know he was in a hotel room next to Bob Backlund, and he thought the couple in the room next to him was doing the dirty for hours that night. But it turned out it was just Bob Backlund doing the steps.
Like, man, they're really rocking that bed next door. Yeah, that's right. Bob. He practiced
Bob.
And the funny part is Kevin Nash went downstairs to the fucking room, or not the room, the fucking desk, and was like, hey, who's in room like 46? And like, oh, that's Bob Backlund. And he's like, holy shit, Bob is fucking tearing that puss up all fucking thing. And then it turned out it was just Bob Backlund doing fucking sit-ups and shit. In the bed. Like, he had his legs up on the bed and was just doing fucking sit-ups.
At this time, 91, Bob is just floating around. This is not in any major promotion, but overall, for me personally, because again, I was born in 1978. Fuck, he was the world champion when I was born. Probably not my cup of tea, but when I go back and watch it for his time, he was effective. He's a great wrestler. You can't deny it.
I'll say this.
And Aaron talked about something earlier about being like people you meet.
We'll show the generational gap, okay?
And Aaron was there.
You were born in 78. He was world champion.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 90. And for me, that was the first time that the full Nelson really looked like, fuck, that might hurt.
Right. Yeah. What a great athlete. And again, like to Aaron was talking about somebody meeting somebody earlier. And Aaron was there when I met Bob. What a great guy. Like, he did not have, right, Aaron? He did not have to take the time that he took. Like, I was like, oh, it's Bob Backlund, sign my magazine, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to move on because you're a fucking icon and I want to let you meet other people. And he, like, put his hand on my shoulder and pulled me back. and wanted to
But
talk
no,
to me.
fucker, you're gonna have a conversation with me.
Yeah, and just such a great guy.
And
It's like we were talking about Dustin Rhodes. His positivity is infectious.
Yes.
and his run as a champ, like like Nate said, I wasn't fucking born or whatever, but watching it as he was the champ, it was good. But it's just kind of started wavering off after he got like the
Yeah.
crew cut, and it's like,
Yeah. I mean, and you're beating a dead horse, and it's been like fucking 7 years, and it's time to move
Like,
on. But
fuck it, let's let him manage the Sultan.
and he did a great job with the
Backlund.
fucking. He had put
Mr.
fucking
Backlund.
that fucking shit on his nose and the glasses and the
Mr. Backlund was great, and I love when Jim Ross is like Bob, like he brought Bob. Jim Ross said he brought Bob Backlund to WWE headquarters and was going to talk to him about going into the Hall of Fame. And Bob Backlund thought Jim Ross was bringing him back for another run. Like he was like, "Oh, we're going to put you in the Hall of Fame, Bob." And Bob was like, "What? I think I should have another run before I go into the Hall of Fame."
I don't give a fuck, kid. I still got it.
Yeah.
That's Kevin Nash. I was doing sit-ups in the room next door.
Backlund, Cena, WrestleMania 30. Number 53, another great veteran, Greg Valentine, 6 foot, 243, 20 years pro. The Hammer is a master of the figure four leg lock. A former U.S. champion and IC champion, now a fan favorite after years of vicious rule breaking.
Talk about his trainers. His trainers was Stu Hart and the Iron Sheik.
Did not know that.
Greg was pretty lame at this point.
He was. This was when they were moving him in as a babyface. He had turned on Jimmy Hart and etc. But Greg's one of the great heels of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You can't talk about Greg Valentine and not talk about that dog collar match with him and Piper.
Right. I was just about to say him and Piper are synonymous.
And and as a matter of fact, and speaking of John Arezzi, I don't mean to cut you off, Aaron.
It's okay.
But speaking of John Arezzi, because John was a fan, like he was literally going to the Garden every week or every month in the 70s and 80s or early 80s. And he stated before he thought Greg Valentine was going to be the guy to beat Bob Backlund for the WWF title. And that's how over as a heel Greg was.
And that's what I was going to say was, and this might be like a bad way to describe the robe, but my favorite Greg Valentine was when he was wearing like that peacock robe. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like it was like purple, but it had like rhinestones and shit on it. And who was his fucking manager? Was his man? Did Wizard?
Grand Wizard.
Yeah, when he was like with. Do you know the era I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like the late 70s, early 80s, Greg Valentine. That's when he was fucking best, in my opinion. 91 Greg Valentine is slow motion.
Yes,
was this around the time of Rhythm and Blues?
We're getting there. But no. This is after Rhythm and Blues.
Oh,
he is probably going to start. He's about to wrestle Earthquake at WrestleMania 7.
That's a highlight of your career.
Or 6 or 7. But
Kenta.
He's at this point he's turned his back on Jimmy. He's turned babyface. It is what it is. He's at the end of his big run in the WWF.
If you ever see Jimmy Hart, you don't want to turn your back on him.
Yeah, baby. Greg was a fantastic worker. He is the epitome of a professional wrestler. And To this day, the guy's a fucking pro wrestler. He doesn't wrestle, but to this day, he shows up at conventions. He interacts with fans.
Yep.
He knows what pro wrestling is.
Well, you know how Aaron said you don't want to turn your back on him. The guy that mentored me and taught me about the business, he has told me my favorite story of a rib of all time. All right, so you know, back in the days, they used to do, this man's going to wrestle a bear. Well,
At the fairs and things like that.
right. All right. So there was this wrestler that's synonymous with Georgia independent wrestling, and like pretty much, you know, a lot of the Southern territory, he's synonymous with it. His name is Irvin Price, and he he was working the bear that night, and my mentor told him, "Go out there, slap that bear, and then turn your back on him."
Did he
Oh,
put
God.
honey on
So when he did, when you turn your back to the bear, he would try to hump you.
Oh, God.
So you know where this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he went in there and slapped the bear and turned his back on him, and that bear proceeded to try to do his business.
Hence the term bear. The
I just
hammer.
figured I'd share that with you because you would definitely enjoy that.
We were talking about the hammer, and then you told that story.
There was a hammer getting put down.
The bear told him this isn't going to be like back when in that bed.
Slap me and turn your back if you want to. Fuck you, buddy.
Hey, boo boo.
Nope.
When I come in your picnic basket.
Hey, boo boo. Number 52, Terrence Taylor. 6'2",
Hell yeah.
225, 11 years pro. More personalities than Sybil. He was
Yes.
Terry Taylor and the Red Rooster before, a charter member of the York Foundation, actually a fine technical grappler. All right.
I don't know if this is okay to say on here, but ain't that red cock dude?
According to Pritchard, if he just would have embraced the cock.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Pat would have gave him that push.
I heard Pat said the same
would've
thing, but that
he
was
would have went banana. This is back to Aaron's thing from earlier.
Underrated, overrated.
Terry Taylor, underrated, overrated, properly rated.
Under.
Because
Over.
of the gimmicks that he was given,
Over.
and no, I don't think he's overrated.
Overrated.
Over.
I agree with you,
Over.
Archie.
In the ring,
Overrated.
that dude
Well, fuck it. Me and Aaron's dying on the hill.
is
Go ahead, Aaron.
fucking fantastic.
He was really good if he was in the ring with somebody really good.
Fundamentalist. That's what I will say.
But Goldberg,
And when
Well, fundamentally,
at-
you're wrong. Because he was good in the ring if he was in the ring with somebody good. That does not
Right,
make
and-
you good.
And people pegged him to be something that he wasn't way too early on, and then he fell flat on his face. Now, yes, he was given some crappy gimmicks, but when he was allowed to be Terry Taylor, he wasn't exactly shining and winning world titles all over the world.
There's a reason that when Vince McMahon had the gimmick Mr. Perfect
He
for
went
the
with
Red Rooster,
Kurt Hennig.
he chose Terry Taylor for the Red Rooster and Kurt Hennig for
Right.
Mr. Perfect.
Right.
Kurt Hennig.
well, I mean, everybody knows Vince loves cops. What's your point here?
I guess Kurt Hennig had a smaller cock.
but no,
That's good shit, pal.
That segued so good.
what else is this? Okay, That rooster gimmick was stupid. Okay.
Well, yeah.
But that rooster gimmick was a parody.
And it also got a fucking elite.
It did. But that rooster gimmick was a parody. And you guys know what that was a parody of, right?
What's Ric
Rockadoodle.
Flair?
It was a parody
Talk of the
Ric
Walk.
Flair. It was a parody of Ric Flair. So, if
I
Vince
said
McMahon,
Rockadoodle.
if Vince McMahon,
That's my fucking age.
this might sound dumb, but if Vince is wanting to do a parody of somebody, and he says Terry Taylor's the guy that we're going to do a parody of Ric Flair for, that speaks to his wrestling ability.
But he did.
What's the parody that you're beating phallic member?
I'm just saying, I think Terry Taylor was a great wrestler.
I don't think Terry
And
Taylor
we're not
was
disagreeing
a great
with
wrestler.
you.
I think Terry Taylor was a fine hand.
Right.
Terry Taylor is Val Venus. He is in.
Without the towel.
He's in the spot he's going to be in. He's never
But
going to
at
be a
the
world
time-
champion. He's never going to be a world champion. He has a bit of charisma. Let's make him a porn star. Maybe that'll work. Because and I'm saying that because when you stripped away Val Venus from Sean Morley, he was fucking boring.
Right.
Val Venus and Terry Taylor are like the same guy to me.
Well, no.
So, like, all right, well, we're talking about Val Venus, though. Did you not enjoy him in Right to Censor?
No.
No, I hated the entire Right to Censorship story.
But hold on, let me explain to you, and see if this makes physiological sense. Right to Censor was the '90s Karens of today's world.
Right.
And so, like, at the time to draw heat, because it was the Attitude era, that whole Right to Censor thing, it got heat.
It did, but not because of Sean Morley.
No. I'm
Here's
just
why.
saying the whole concept,
The
principle of it.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. And that's why I'm saying Taylor is like Morley, in that the gimmick doesn't. It's not because of him. It's because of the atmosphere.
Okay, see,
The creative, right?
Nate,
The Right to Censor could have gotten over with Stevie Richards and by somebody else. Boomy.
I mean, actually, Right to Censor got over. I think to me more because of the Godfather being
right.
a good
It was
father.
you're turning the fan favorites into these.
How you gonna forget
politically
about the
correct
hoes, dog?
assholes.
How you gonna forget about the hoes, dog? They what made you.
Well, okay, we're talking about like you guys
Terry
brought up
Taylor.
Sean Morley and all that shit. What I'm saying is Terry Taylor as a worker
Was okay.
was,
And,
in my opinion, underrated. And
my go ahead.
I just think like the dude doesn't get enough credit. And
In my opinion, comparing Terry Taylor to Sean Morley, whether he's Val Venus or not, is giving Sean Morley way too much credit.
No, but what Nate
I'll
means by
agree
that
with you
here-
on that.
Here, let's look at it this way. All right, Terry Taylor, when he started his career, he was with Eddie Gilbert. He won the TV title, and they kept promoting
Wait, Archie.
him. Yes.
He attached himself to Eddie Gilbert.
Right,
Hold on.
exactly.
I was going to try to say this. I'm going to say this. Terry Taylor has been employed for so many fucking years as a booking agent, talent scout,
Aaron,
trainer.
Aaron,
What?
much like me, you work for a corporation. Don't do this.
Terry Taylor's
They might hear this podcast and you go into work next week.
He's not that good. He sucks that ass really good.
But
he
all right,
never
but like I
that
said,
good.
fundamentalist is the fact he understood the basics and he could get those guys to that level to where they could put on, you know, a match.
And again, I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not saying he wasn't a good worker. I'm saying he was overrated. He wasn't really that good.
With a gimmick like the Red Rooster, how over do you think that?
I don't want to talk about the guys.
I don't know.
But hold on.
Mark Callis made the Undertaker work.
Yeah, but that's the Undertaker versus
but hold on.
No. The Undertaker was supposed to last 1 year, and it didn't because of the man behind it.
Right.
When you embody the gimmick. Right. Yeah, I understand.
But when you
I am dying on this hill tonight. Terry Taylor is not that fucking good.
Nate, hold on a second.
Let's say this. Okay, you're going to talk about a gimmick.
We're way over 90 minutes. And
this shit went left real quick.
No, hold on. Stop. Let's say this about a gimmick.
Aaron's the voice of reason. What the fuck kind of show is this?
Shut the fuck up. Let's say this.
Why did he turn into a chicken all of a sudden?
A gimmick that wasn't supposed to have any shelf life. Okay?
The Undertaker.
All right, I know.
And the Red Rooster. Compare your workers.
But I'll put it like this. If you look ahead and look at the next name in this list, he does not deserve to be above Terry Taylor.
Let me say let me say what I was going to say. Just stop for a second. Okay.
Collaborate and listen.
Just shut up. Everybody shut the fuck up.
Go Ninja. Go Ninja.
Terry Taylor showed up at a convention that Nate and I were at, and when Taylor walked into the room, everybody, including Nate, went, Rooster!
He just broke kayfabe right there.
Rooster! So that fucking gimmick resonated.
Over with Nate.
And in that moment, when he walked in, he was fucking over to you.
But it was also
give me the red cock now.
But hold on.
He's still overrated.
And he is a fucking, when he was a worker.
If Mike Halleck walked into the arena right now, I'd go boo Mantar, because that's what I fucking know him as.
That's fine, but fucking Mantar wasn't a good fucking worker. Bell to bell, fundamentally building.
I never said from the beginning he wasn't good worker. I just said he was overrated. He's not a great worker. He's a good worker.
But then, too, that also goes into what you classify as a good worker, as you said before. Because, like...
I'm not shitting on Terry. I'm not at all.
Right. If he can give those people...
Is Barry Horowitz a piece of shit?
No, he's a great worker.
Okay, so
he's a better worker. Barry Horowitz is a better worker than Terry Taylor.
No, he isn't.
You want me to tell you somebody who's better than both of them? I'll tell you somebody who's better than both of them. and it's a lot of guy. It's a guy that doesn't get a lot of credit. Bob Cook.
Yes. Well, no, I don't. I don't know. He's not. I don't know if he's better. I don't know if he's better than Barry. Barry's a fantastic worker.
We lost Archie.
But anyway, we've had this Terry Taylor fight.
Terry Taylor's fucking awesome.
Terry Taylor's really good.
And like I said, I will not say that he should have been below the next guy that we got upcoming.
Well, no, I'm not saying Terry Taylor should be on this list like as high as he is, but I don't think people should sleep on the awesomeness of Terry Taylor.
Number 51. Archie's back. Hello, Archie.
Yeah, I got my earbuds went out and I couldn't talk anymore. You guys couldn't hear me.
Yeah, look, we were talking about cock and Archie darted. That's all it was.
Well, hey,
fucking Terry Taylor conversation has superseded my time to be able to walk to the fucking bar to get a goddamn last call.
Well, you're the ones that wanted to die on the hill for Terry Taylor.
Well, Aaron?
Aaron, I'm gonna have to drink 6 beers out of my mini fridge by myself and watch Terry Taylor matches.
Well, I don't have a mini
Aaron.
fridge.
I'll hang out with you afterwards, Aaron.
Hold on.
It's okay.
Hold on. I don't have a mini fridge, Mr. Millionaire.
Aaron.
I have a regular.
I do. I don't have one. Huh?
For fuck's sake.
He's getting HBK money.
You fired me up, Nate. You knew that was going to happen. You knew.
It's like you mentioned Buck Zumwalt. Listen, that is the first time I have seen Aaron be as passionate about something as he is about his hatred for Buck Zumwalt.
Nate knew what he was doing when he brought up Terry fucking Taylor.
All right, who's next?
So hold on. Before we go to who's next and who's last this week, I just want to point out.
Hold on, we got to end on a better note than this, damn it.
Nope. This is it.
We'll do
next week is 50-1.
All right.
But hold on a second.
He's fixing to play you a YouTube song, Nate, about how he feels about the situation. I feel it coming.
Yeah, he's playing the Red Rooster.
Are you playing a Little Red?
The Quiet Before the Storm.
This is unprofessional.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Hold on, I just did the Bill Dundee.
No. The reason I said hold on a second.
Did your internet go out again?
It did not.
I was about to say, we're finna pick it outside of freaking Comcast or whatever service you got.
I don't know. It's Spectrum and they suck my ass. No.
My internet never goes out.
Aaron is complaining.
Because you got a mini fridge. That's why it never goes out.
Free plug. Thank you, Kinetic from Windstream.
Nate?
But you wanted to die on that Terry Taylor hill.
Right.
Oh, he is fixing to get technical as a motherfucker.
I didn't want to die on it. I was put on it, and
I'll stand there with you, bro. It's okay. He might be your real life brother, but in the Terry Taylor fight, I'm there with you, bro.
This was my argument about it.
Terry Taylor fight.
This was my argument about it. He was Terry Taylor a lot in his career too, and he didn't do a lot of anything either. So
I'll put it like this: this Terry Taylor fight has to last longer because the next fucking person is not even fucking worthy of really talking about. So
I'll disagree a bit, Mark.
I mean,
just a bit. because
Well,
because
different
of his
strokes,
work
different folks, and I respect that.
because of his work elsewhere, and I'm not going to read the description, frankly, because at this point I'm not in front of the magazine. But number 51, and next week we will do 50 through number 1, top 50. Number
You sure
51.
we're not going to make it to the top 20?
Like, I
No,
don't want
next
to fuck
week.
Terry Taylor, but I love him.
Next week we are doing 50 through 1, no matter how long it takes.
And then we can get on to the other good shit that we got in store.
All of shame.
Wait a minute.
But anyway,
Hold
number
on.
51.
Hall of Shame is next?
Yes.
I thought Booger the Box was
Yeah.
Nope. Hall of Shame is next, and then
Hall
Booker
of
the Box.
Shame is my fucking jam.
Damn, I'm
Just
not.
wait till we put fucking
But-
Evad on here for Aaron. He's
Wait
going
a
to go fucking nuts.
Booker the Box, which this time I don't even get to compete in. God damn it!
Yeah, nobody said. You said you didn't want to compete.
That's like you with this fucking tournament that's going on in the Facebook group. What's wrong with you, Archie?
Because he screws me out of every tournament, except for the first one I won.
Well, I mean, if you're going to get screwed, at least let it be in Montreal.
Yeah. Quit picking dogs.
Dude, I picked Shane Douglas, but whatever. That's not the point.
You picked
talked
Chad
about-
Austin.
I'm talking about the last one.
He played his arch nemesis. What's up with
talked
that?
about Terry Taylor for 40 minutes and did not talk about the Boston bad boy, who's number
You
51.
You said for 40 minutes.
Yeah, it feels like it's been an eternity. Terry Taylor hasn't been this over in years.
Well, he's over with us, damn it.
That's because the boss is drunk.
The boss man is scrubbed.
Definitely.
51 in the initial PWI 500 is a guy that apparently Mark and I disagree on. It's Tony Anthony.
The dirty white boy.
Mark, you don't like him?
It's not over with me.
How do you not like the dirty white boy?
Right.
Oh, God, I got to listen to somebody else fight. Good.
All right, check this out. USWA in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
You got Jerry Lawler, the Soul Taker, and Tony Anthony versus Chris Champion, Dutch Mantel, and King Cobra. For one, they went over on those three, and I would assume that, you know, if I'm going to die on a hill, that everybody listening with me would agree that if you got Dutch Mantel on that team, he's more over than 2 out of 3 of those other guys.
Well, yeah, but Tony Anthony was fucking great, man.
But hold up. On January 15th in 1990, on the USWA Memphis show, he went over on Steve Austin. Jimmy Del Rey is never going to go over on Stone Cold on any card of mine. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, why are we talking
You
about
will
Jimmy
not
Del Rey?
put Jimmy Del Rey over on Stone Cold. Never in a company that I would run. And expected to be successful.
Well,
As Stunning Steve, Steve Williams had more charisma.
You mean Tony
Damn,
Anthony,
Jim.
not Jimmy Del Rey.
No, that's what it says. Is the alternate ring names was.
That's weird.
I'm confused.
Oh no, TL. My bad. TL Hopper.
Wait, we're not talking about DL Hopper. We're talking about.
That's what number. So hold on.
I
This
know,
is different
but-
on mine again.
TL Hopper was Tony Anthony.
Which was the
Let's
Dirty
reset.
White
Jesus
Boy, which
Christ,
was
how long
Grappler
am I?
number 2, which was the Mighty Yankee, which was Tony Anthony, correct?
Yes.
So, yeah. You drilled down to it. But
You still wouldn't put TL Hopper over Steve Austin on my card. I'm sorry.
T.L. Hopper yet.
TL Hopper, yeah.
Before.
But Tony.
Hold up. All right, let's break it down to the story of it. All right,
Tony,
you got Stone Cold who played friggin' football and stuff like that at TCU and all that versus T.L. Hopper. So you're telling me in that situation you put T.L. Hopper over on Steve Austin?
well, maybe not. But what I'm trying to say is,
That's my heel.
but
That's where I die.
what I'm saying is, Tony Anthony as a talent and work in a fucking room.
I agree.
That dude was great. Like, if you want to watch some great Tony Anthony, fucking Smoky Mountain Wrestling, fucking watch it.
Right.
That dude worked great as a heel, and he worked great as a baby face. Like,
Okay, I was with you with the Terry Taylor shit, but I now retract that statement.
The brothers are over, Nate.
Nate, you can tell me if I'm wrong, okay? But and I know ECW went a lot longer than Smoky Mountain. But do you know what I think the Smoky Mountain equivalent that Tony Anthony was to ECW?
Sandman?
Yes, he was the Sandman
I
of
agree with that.
ECW.
Well, I mean, that's not saying much considering they put Sandman in the feud with Tommy Cairo. Fresh fruits.
Don't make me play the Fresh Fruits promo again. Please.
Listen, that's how you know I listen to Reliving the Extreme.
Right.
But Tony Anthony in that room in front of that crowd was fantastic. And I honestly don't think that he was a terrible worker. I think if given the chance.
Hold on. All right, now let me ask you this question. Do you put him over Terry Taylor?
Promo wise.
Promo wise, yes.
But they're different characters. They're different styles and they're different whatever.
But we're talking about the same time frame, 1991. But prior T.L. Hopper, accordingly.
He's not T.L. Hopper yet.
Right, that's what I'm saying. All right, so as Tony Anthony, you would put him over the Red Rooster Terry Taylor.
If they're doing what they're doing now, honestly, I'd put fucking Tony Anthony over Terry Taylor. I really would. And I like both of them, but Tony Anthony.
That just illegitimizes that whole argument that me and you just had with Nate and Archie.
But Tony Anthony was cutting better promos. He was working a stiffer style, and like I'm thinking of Tony. I'm looking at Tony Anthony of Smoky Mountain and Memphis.
This is where I'll. It's funny because I'm gonna agree with Aaron and agree with Mark.
Where you agree with me on that you wouldn't put him over Steve Austin.
But no, I mean, okay.
Looking at them, no.
Here's the thing, and this is where I'll say I agree with both of you about Anthony and Taylor. At this time, to be honest, I would put Anthony over Taylor because I'm not a big fan of Terry Taylor.
So that's the disagreement.
If we're talking about 90 and 91, if we're talking about the time that this list was posted and what collaborated,
that should have been a question for you to ask Rizzy. You should have went on a week later so we could have had this conversation.
I would put Anthony over Taylor just because in their environment as a Southern, because he's being booked as a Southern wrestling heel, like almost a territorial heel.
Right.
Tony Anthony is fantastic. You bring him up to New York and you give him that shitty plumber gimmick 4 years later.
That's what I was about to say. The promo picture has the plumber gimmick.
Yes, and that is garbage. And
and that's
and
my
and
that's my whole argument about the whole thing.
whether to his credit or not, because he was given the situation he was given,
Yes.
it was bad. But as a Southern wrestling heel in that era, in that time, I would put Tony over Terry. Just because, frankly, again, I think in general Terry's overrated. But that's just me. And
Right.
that's why I love this shit, because we can disagree, we can agree to disagree.
And Nate, like what I was saying about fucking uh, working the room and the crowd and all that shit, he can be a heel because he cut great heel promos and all that shit.
And him and Ron Wright were so good.
Oh,
together.
they were fucking great together. And it worked the same way as what I'm going to say is that he could be a heel, but then at the end of the day, he could also flip it. And then the dudes in the crowd would be like, yeah, man, I could drink a beer with that guy. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I got enough crack to deal with his plumbing gimmick.
I'm just saying.
My bad.
Like,
My bad.
I'm just saying, like, it's not the same, but like he almost, if they wanted to turn him, which they did, but when he turned face, he could almost do. And like I said, it wasn't as great as it, but it was almost like a Dusty type thing. Where he was just like a common man. You know what I mean?
Oh, plumber's pretty fucking common.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, look at Super Mario Brothers. It was over.
Well, everybody, next week we are gonna.
So what we've taken from this episode is that Terry Taylor was awesome, and Tony Anthony was okay, or more than okay, and Nate can't be right all the time. Thanks everybody for listening.
And
or Nate can be
don't cry.
Right all the time.
And you and Mark tag team ever because you turned on each other the minute you guys didn't agree.
Yeah, but I mean, because like I sat there and died on that hill with him on Terry Taylor, and then he just shits on me on Tony Anthony.
Y'all are Austin and Taker in '98.
Yeah.
Or
which one's got the ministry? That's what I want
know.
to
Or more like Shawn and Austin in 1997.
No. I can't see either one of you in Playgirl. Just wouldn't work.
Which one of you is
look, Archie?
Which one of you is Shawn and Austin? Which one of you is an actual badass, and which one of you is playing badass because it's that week?
It depends on what angle you're booking us in. If you give me the red cop gimmick, I'll make it work.
I'm just like which one of us is Austin and which one of us is Michaels?
I don't know. It fits that I shaved my head this week.
I'm definitely a Michaels. I'll run away.
Aaron's in the do-rag with the tank top.
Yeah.
I'll run away.
Vince.
His boots tucked into his jeans.
Well, I'm not doing that, but I'll run away.
Wait, his jeans tucked into his boots. Fuck.
I'll run away. Somebody bigger to work.
You always know it's time to end this show when your host is hammered. All right. So that's it. Next week, we are going to, no matter how long it takes, we're doing 50 through number 1.
Wait, we didn't hit number 50, though.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't.
No, we hit 51.
We're not going to, Archie, fucking keep up. We're not hitting
51.
You keep up. We were talking about Terry Taylor being better than Tony Anthony.
50.
You keep up.
51 was Tony Anthony. 50 is Earthquake. I'm looking at the PWI.
Why are you fucking spoiling it? Oh my God.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Archie.
We were waiting for 50 for next week.
Okay. Sorry.
You
my bad.
Fucking Meltzer.
Oh, listen, Archie could not wait until next week because he is such the biggest fan
Right.
Earthquake
Right.
that he has to give the fat boy love.
Right.
He was like, we're getting to the wrestler that I look the most like.
And I will say this, Nate, after the show, stick around because what's in this envelope right here, I really want to share with you.
Archie was like, my doppelganger's coming up.
Like, you can't just skip over Earthquake, damn it.
At least I look like a wrestler, Aaron.
Oh,
That's fine.
Shots
bro.
fired.
Harvey
Back
Wimpleman.
dates.
Harvey Wimpleman looking ass.
Downtown Bruno, damn it.
Oh, that's funny.
all right.
I can take a good joke. Like
I'm
Kane
okay.
Taylor.
You know I love you, brother.
It's time for you motherfuckers plug your shit.
We went too long. I ain't plugging
Wrestle
nothing.
podcast.
I ain't plugging nothing. We went too long.
What, you
Archie?
ain't plugging nothing? Fuck it, I'll plug it for you. If you smell what the arch is cooking, check out this next coming week's episode because guess what? Mark Bruce dropping in
That's
for
right.
a
Mark will be
motherfucking
with you.
co-host.
We had a pretty damn good week of wrestling this week.
I got the pleasure of being the co-host last week, and
Yes.
it's always a pleasure. So Archie, go ahead.
Well, like I said, we had a pretty damn good week of wrestling again. Couple of returns, couple of great matches.
Cross
So,
baby.
yep. Lot Triple H is definitely making sure that he shoots his shot now rather than later.
And
Well, I mean-
Scarlett, who
And
got
Scarlett.
It's like Aaron said, if you're gonna do it, you better clean it up.
So
Don't clean up Scarlett though, please.
no.
No, please
Just
don't.
make her a better elite. That's all we need is a better elite. That's
She's
it.
my biggest regret at a wrestling meeting. I actually had a wrestling convention. Like, she was a convention before they were on WWE, and she was like, "You should get your picture taken with me." And I was like, I don't know. I'm broke. I don't have enough money. And now I'm like, God damn it, I wish I would have. But anyway,
Did she come?
if you smell what the archer's
It
cooking,
might have been a nip slip there.
yeah. Brew, it's your turn. Plug your shit.
Mark Cindy Spotlight this week.
I just edited the latest episode. It will be out tomorrow as we speak.
But Mark Cindy Spotlight for next week. I am gonna get involved in some ongoing storyline in between an independent wrestling promotion and two superstars that I had the pleasure of recently training with. So it's gonna be a little interesting to see how things go, and we'll see if we can entice you to come in and listen to more of Mark's Indie Spotlight.
And this week,
Also, while you're at it, listen to Reliving the Extreme, listen to The Year That Was, listen to If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking. Because if you ain't listening to WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network,
What the fuck?
you ain't. You're right. What are you doing with your life? Like, seriously.
yes, this week on Mark's show, the man, the myth, the legend,
The original Stone Cold. Chad Austin.
Chad Austin.
Yes, a great conversation, and I just got the pleasure of editing that episode, and it will be out this weekend. Aaron?
Honestly, though, let's get Nate's on-air opinion. That episode, is it not epically, great?
Oh, it's fantastic. Chad is always fantastic.
Like, you can't talk to Chad Austin and not be in a good mood.
It is. It's he's so fucking good. People sleep on Chad so much.
Shit. I'm going to put it like this. If you're sleeping on anything Chad Austin, how the fuck do you sleep? Because if you're not intrigued by his road stories, by his stories of what was actually going on during the time that he was in ECW, if you're not interested in,
no,
right,
as a historian, if I come to him with Chad, I think I fancy myself a historian, and he'll be like, "Do you remember random guy from Portland?" I'll be like, "Well, fuck. Thanks for fucking me in the ass as a historian, you motherfucker."
No lube, bitch. No lube.
I love that man.
Yes, I'll put it like this. I had the pleasure of doing Mark's Indie Spotlight this week with Chad Austin, which will be out Saturday for all you listeners to view. And I will say, out of all the co-hosts, the spotlight, who we spotlighted, Chad Austin has been my favorite. For one, because Chad Austin is not a dull motherfucker, and he's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind and exactly what actually happened. He's not gonna. All right, well, I'm doing a interview for High Spots, so I'm gonna have to, spice this up a little bit and make it seem like it's something that it's not. Blooming. That's all I'm gonna say.
He doesn't
So
mince words at all.
right, if you want to know, listen to Mark's Indie Spotlight this week. And as soon as we record it, listen to Aaron Maxon's The Year That Was. And if you're not listening to If You Smell What the Arch Is Cooking, well, obviously you ain't never been in the kitchen.
And
But
I'm cooking cold.
it's salami, damn it. It's salami.
No. I'm sure I was mentioned on Mark's Indie Spotlight by Chad, because he and I have been feuding for over a year, which is fine. We finally locked down our match, which will be on the Book in the Box of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. But Chad, you bought yourself another week, because now with the Hall of Shame, we're going to wait to do the Book in the Box. So I'll get you eventually, Chad.
I'll give you a slight hint on who my first induction into the Hall of Shame is. He's the not so Polish Hammer.
Ivan Pussy?
Nope, but I mean you're close to on the last name.
Aaron, plug your shit.
Wow, I don't think that this is the first time ever that my I think this might be the first time ever that my plug is not going to be the longest one in the group.
You're welcome, buddy.
What I'll say is Chad Austin, lukewarm Chad Austin is...
And that is where I had the problem, because he was the original Stone Cold, damn it.
But Chad is a great guest and a great dude to talk to, which all of you are. But if you guys want to listen to good shows that don't have a lot of bullshit behind them, and it's just guys talking, having a good time, listen to everybody's shows. Listen to Nate's show, Slice of Time, obviously the We Can't Wrestle podcast that you guys are listening to now, Mark's Indie Spotlight, Archie's If You Smell What the Archie's Cooking. David Gold has his show on Golden Voices, all that shit. It's just listen to it, have a good time, and join our Facebook group. And when you get on there, don't be a dick. Just have a good time.
If not, you'll get booted by Aaron.
I will boot your fucking ass. I will scrub
Don't
you.
Be a prick. If you're gonna be a prick, do not.
I will Benoit scrub you if you be
God.
a fucking asshole. That's what I did.
Aaron's doing a
Sean Bossman. If Sean Bossman is listening, stop listening.
2.5 hours in, this shit just got real.
He's the only guy that I don't want to listen to any of our shit. Sean Bossman, please don't listen to We Can't Wrestle. Please don't listen to
Look at Nate. I swear, you better put these damn lives.
Nate's gonna look confused and be like, "Why are we down?"
Because the reaction is fucking timeless.
Nate's gonna look confused next week and be like, "Why are we out? Why are we down 40%? What happened?"
Sean
He quit telling his friends.
Sean Bossman, please don't listen to Indie Spotlight. Sean Bossman, please don't listen to Reliving the Extreme. Sean Bossman, just don't listen to anything.
Talking about a motherfucker
don't
getting
even
called
listen to-
out. Jesus. He just cut the promo of the century.
Do not even listen to Oncoming Traffic because nobody wants you around.
Don't listen, just walk into it.
Just walk right into it. Even your family doesn't love you.
Oh God.
But everybody else, but everybody
Mark,
else,
are you happy?
but everybody else's name that is not Sean Bossman. Thank you for listening. Thank you for contributing. I appreciate it. But Sean
that made me laugh way too hard from such a good place.
Sean Bossman, you can eat a big bag of pig dicks because nobody loves you. And,
No.
And look, the best part about it is Nate is not even surprised by none of this because
Nope.
it's his brother and he knows what's up.
Fall on a night, Sean.
Oh God. It just keeps getting worse.
I hope you have a terrible birthday. Fuck stick.
Damn, it's like you really did the research to find out when his birthday is and if it's coming soon.
I scrubbed you. Anybody else?
Aaron,
Huh?
you nailed it.
Is that the where the choke looks real, but it's really
I hate that guy.
We want to wait. We want to wish everybody a great week, except you, boss man.
Fuck you, boss man.
You gotta say, boss man.
Boss man. Sean, boss man.
Nate, if you don't make it out with the big boss man's theme, that's ridiculous. If you're ever down in Georgia,
listen, we went way too long on this shit, but I promise you, it's worth it. It's fucking worth it.
Definitely.
Archie,
shut the fuck up.
Boss man.
Let me try this. Sean,
I've heard that way too many times before. Shut the fuck up.
Sean, boss man. Fuck you and your entire family.
That's like the El Gigante promo. And what are you talking about, Ric Flair?
Kill you.
I'm gonna kill you.
Sean, boss man.
I kill you.
I kill you.
This is how you know I listen back to every episode, no matter what.
Right.
Sean, boss man. I strangle you with Kmart bag.
Reusable Kmart bag.
Right.
Sean, boss man. I suffocate you with reusable Aldi's bag.
Why is he Cookie Monster all of a sudden? He went from nails to Cookie Monster. What happened?
Holy shit, dude. We literally almost hit 3 hours. Like, literally, we're only a quarter hour shy.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Sean, boss man.
Listen, Nate's going to be like, yeah, damn that initial one, we're going to run away this one.
Yeah, I'm not editing shit out of this.
No, just go.
I'm just going to use
But Archie.
I'm just going to use my regular voice. Sean, boss man, fuck off.
Don't forget, Nate, don't leave. I got good shit in here.
And Archie?
Oh shit! Is Mark going to show us what was in the Milana? I can't speak.
Holy shit! What the fuck are you watching?
What do you call those envelopes?
Manila.
Manila?
He was trying to say Manila, but he said Manila.
Manolo?
The manila envelope. Is that what Baby Doll had?
No, this is even better than what Baby Doll had.
Okay.
Take us home, Nate.
Nate, you need to
No. This show has gone far too long. And Archie, you are probably the only sober one left.
Yes.
Damn it, Archie. What are you doing wrong in your life?
So for
The
this
heart
week,
medication. Can't drink
for this week, as a special award for best host on the WrestleNet Radio podcast,
For the one that's least likely to blow illegal on a field sobriety test.
Guess what? When we do the Hall of Shame, you know they have the Warrior Award. We're gonna name it in Archie's honor, and it's gonna be the Tenta.
I was gonna say the sober award.
Yeah, the Tenta Award.
The CM Punk Award. Straight in, baby.
Not by choice. Trust
Archie
me.
Mitchell, sign us off this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
Thank you all for joining us. Have a great night. Thank you for putting up with our loudmouthedness and our dying on hills for Terry Taylor and Tony Anthony. And Sean Bossman, suck a dick. Have a great night, everybody.
Perfect.
I love my brother.
Hold on. Suck a dick, boss man.
Suck a dick,